lead us in the pledge. Please rise.
Heavenly Father, thank you for your amazing power and work in our lives. Thank you for your goodness and for your blessings over us. Thank you that you are able to bring hope through the toughest of times, strengthening us for your purposes. Thank you for your great love and care. Thank you for your mercy and grace. Thank you that you are always with us and will never leave us. Forgive us when we don't thank you enough for who you are, for all that you do, and for all that we are given. In his name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Bernard. Ms. Collins.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. All right. So the board workshop, which we are currently in, scheduled for May 6, 2021 at 5 p.m., is being streamed live via YouTube. A link to watch the meeting can be found on board docs located on the school board's website. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
District 9, President Tapman.
Present.
District 4, Vice President Collins.
Present.
District 1, Mr. Blue.
Here.
District 2, Mr. Lannis. District 3, Mr. Howard. District 5, Ms. Ware Jackson. Here. District 6, Ms. Dyson.
Present.
District 7, Mr. Goday. District 8, Ms. Bernard.
Present.
Thank you. Just a little bit of housekeeping, Madam Secretary. We should all log into board docs now, correct? Committee of the whole. Okay, thank you. We move now to discussion and information, a presentation on ESSA. Superintendent, you'd like to kick it off?
Thank you, President Tapman. Today we're going to talk through our presentation concerning the ESSER funds on how we are projecting to spend dollars to support students in our school system. I'll ask for Dr. Bethley and Kelly Lopez, our Chief Financial Officer, to please come up.
Good evening. Okay, so the purpose of the ESSER funding is to create high-quality learning environments for all students. At the Committee of the Whole last month, I reviewed with you the different ESSER fundings, and I want you to keep in mind that ESSER fund was also called the CARES Act, and in that particular funding, we are going to roll over at least $2 million, and that will be to provide support for our students with exceptionalities. So as we move on to ESSER 2 and ESSER 3, ESSER 2 is the Corona Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act, and ESSER 3 is the American Rescue Plan Act. Of course, with every grant comes indirect costs and administrative costs. The indirect cost is populated in our State Department of Education's application, and the state has allotted us 26.743% for indirect costs, and you will see that in the slides later. Our administrative cost is the cost that is given to the district for us to operate the grant. It pays for the salaries of clerical as they do clerical duties for the grant. So let's talk about ESSER 2. In ESSER 2, we were allocated $32.1 million, and I'm going to estimate it. Our indirect costs, as you can see, will be $6.7 million, and our administrative costs will be $125,000. So with this grant, we are proposing to allocate $8 million for our early childhood program. And in that program, we will be providing early childhood seats for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. So this funding will basically pay for teachers and paraprofessionals, and we will provide 200 seats for our 3-year-olds, and can't see
620 to the child care side.
for the child care sites. Then the next category that we are proposing to allocate funds for is the core subject curricular. And in this grant, we are allocating funds for Learn Zillion, guidebooks, and My Perspective. And so we are proposing $8.2 million for this initiative. The next category is the individual student supports, and we are proposing $4.3 million for this initiative, and that includes Edgenuity, Illuminate, and instructional staff. And with the instructional staff, we are proposing to hire 31 literacy coaches in our low-performing schools. The next category is students with disabilities, and as you can see, we're allocating $195,000 here. That's because in ESSER 1, we have $2 million that we're rolling over until the next school year to provide for our students with exceptionalities. Our next category is the social, emotional, and mental health. And in this category, we're going to fund social workers at 15 schools, and also we're going to pay the contracts. Okay, thank you. We're going to propose contracts for our Lady of the Lake Health Center in 4 of our schools. So as you can see, the investment for the social workers will be $348,000, and for our nurses, it'll be $516,000. The next category is the Feeding Child Nutrition Program. And for this initiative, we would like to continue providing our families in need with breakfast and lunch. So we are allocating $250,000 for that initiative. Then for the sanitation training and supplies, we are allocating $500,000, and we're hoping to upgrade all of our filters in our schools and also our sites. The next category is the student devices and student connectivity, and that is for technology. We're going to upgrade and replace Chromebooks, and we're also going to provide hotspots, Google Chrome license for our students. And with this grant, we have allocated $1.9 million for our charter schools, and this is for them to provide academic programs and for our students and professional development for the teachers. And that ends the ESSER 2. So do you all have any questions about ESSER 2?
Vice President Collins.
Okay. For each of these things, moving forward as different items come up for agenda as a budgetary matter, because this is just an overview. Or actually, let me correct myself with what I'm asking for and the timeliness of it. Can I get feedback, and it's okay if it's in the form of an email after this meeting, can I get feedback on each of these items that's being proposed, ESSER 2 as well as ESSER 3, in terms of how much each item, is it a recurring expense past the time of the grant, so that we can just be mindful of that type of thing. Where in the 4 buckets, there's 2 buckets in ESSER 2, 2 buckets in ESSER 3, where does that item fall in the main purpose of the funds? right? So then, if one of the purposes is invest, or rather, one of the purposes is invest in facility repairs and improvements and air quality improvements for school buildings, then which one of those falls into that? Another one is reopen schools and sustain a safe operation. Which one of those fall into that? Also, how will we measure our academic return on investment for those pieces that are academic? If something, and so again, I understand that this probably will be coming to me in the form of an email after this, because I'm asking a lot. So then for each academic, for everything where there is a change in what we're currently doing, some things are an addition, right? Cool. For those things that previously existed in the district, I would like information on what was and was not working, and what each recommended piece will do different or better. And that is all I have at the moment.
Thank you, Vice President Collins. Ms. Dyson.
On Ms. Collins' questions, were there any of those that you already had answers to? Were you able to, did you need to stop each time? One of the ones that I think we both have is a question on the literacy coaches. I just wanted to get some clarity. So,
Okay, I will ask Dr. Lashley to join me.
Okay, great.
She's overseeing that initiative.
and I think that it would be beneficial for the viewing audience as well, so we know exactly where we're going to have that increased position. The other thing next will be the social workers. Hey,
Hi.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Board President Tadman, Vice President Collins, board members, and Superintendent Narcisse. Thank you. I'm Barbara Lashley. I am the Chief of Literacy, and thank you for allowing me to speak to you this evening. And you had a question about the coaches.
Yeah.
So what we're endeavoring to do right now is we will have 53 schools, 53 of our C, D, and F schools will receive a coach, a school-based coach within their schools to work specifically with teachers, to train them to do professional development.
Is that all of our C, D, and F? Is that 53? Do we have any others that aren't included in the 53?
Well, that would be
C, D, or F?
our A and B schools are not included at this time.
Okay.
However, that's being looked at depending upon funds.
Right.
Because the idea is that we would greatly love to put literacy coaches in all of our schools.
So that all C, D, and
All
F schools
C, D,
at
and F.
elementary, middle,
And high.
and high school are all going to get one position
Yes, ma'am.
of a literacy coach. And so is there going to be any for schools that like have a big variance in their populations? Is there like one school might have 1,400 students and another one might have 300 and something students? Is there any, are they going to just get the one position no matter their amount, the population, student population?
Well, this is our first line of looking at this
Yeah.
from a budget standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're saying, we will be taking into consideration, but right now, this is where our budget lies. But again, like we said, we're looking to see how to expand on that
Yeah.
as we go forward.
And it may be that one can share two schools, whereas another student population is really large and needs that other half or something, you know.
So, Board Member Dyson, as Dr. Lashley shared, currently, right now, based on the data, the 53 literacy coaches would go there, but as we shared with principals yesterday, We have some schools that are A and B schools as well that may decide that they may want support around that. We'll then look at the distribution of some of those coaches to see how we can support them and maybe pair up, as you just said. We'll do the same thing under math as well, because we do have some of those schools that have asked for some help in that area.
And thank you so much. The other thing that brings to mind is that we have students who struggle with reading, with dyslexia and that kind of thing, even in our magnet programs. And we, and they're able to get that, maintain that 2.5, but it's a real struggle, and they need some developmental work around their weakness areas, and a lot of it literacy affects, as we all know, every subject. And so if we have identified students in certain schools that may be A schools, that happens.
Yeah, the one thing just to bring up is the strategy on trying to support the students will be around the coaches getting support to the teachers. And so as they work through with the teachers and then also with students, they'll be able to group them in different categories to do that. And so we know that distribution is different from school to school, but as you know, our CD and F schools are the most challenging, but also the other schools have groups, so we're working through that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Mr. Howard?
The other question was about
I'm
the
sorry.
social workers.
Okay,
Thank you, Dr.
you're
Lashman.
welcome.
The social workers, I think I heard, I couldn't read it that far, and I was having a hard time pulling it up, but did I hear 4?
There, in this part of the budget, there will be 6 social workers,
6.
which will service up to 15 schools, because it'll be a rotation based on the needs, and it will be true counseling, intervention, social work being performed in helping support the students.
So the 6 social workers are going to have 15 schools each, or
No.
combined, they're only going to touch?
A total
15.
of 15 schools that are most at need, but we're also looking at additional social workers to be added later. I can't address that because that's Kelly's number crunching.
Yeah.
But we will be doing that, and also we will have our capital area social workers. We will continue to have our externs from LSU and Southern, which are also social workers. So we are moving forward and spreading our depth of our field as to the social workers we provide in the district.
Okay.
Ms. Dupree, could you share with the board how many current social workers we have and which groups help which, just so they can get clarity on that?
Yes, sir. With Capital Area Human Services, we have 12 social workers that provide services at 12 schools. With social workers in the district, we have 6. That was the last count. The other social workers are attached to special ed, and they are directly providing services for IEP. So the social workers that we're looking at will be able to provide services to everybody. And at LSU and Southern, we have, give or take a semester, about 5 to 6 students out there.
So the 6 will be in addition to the 6 that we already have? The 6 that we're going to get through this?
Yes, ma'am. But the 6 that we already have are assigned to schools. So we're going to look at each school to make sure that we don't cross over.
Yeah.
We'll be servicing schools that do not have social workers.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Howard?
Thank you, President Tapman. I guess my question is to the superintendent or to whoever may be able to answer. So when we talk about the 31 literacy coaches, I think it's a great idea that we're getting literacy coaches inside of schools. We know where our reading numbers and targets are. But my question is around the sustainability. So once this money runs out, like how do we as a district plan to sustain this? Because we'll see increases for the next 2 to 3 years, but if we are not able to sustain it, then we'll just be back at square one. So what are we doing about sustainability?
Thank you for that question. One of the processes that we're going through as we're going through this, through the budget, is also streamlining of programs. We have a number of programs in the school system, over 100 semi-programs where schools are doing it individually. So there's costs efficiency there. We're also looking at costs on reduction around how we look at our central office. There's a lot of space that so we're looking at different sets of reductions, which will help with the sustainability costs in these areas. If you also notice too, we're putting a lot of investment in professional development, where we anticipate that once the funds run out in our development, we'll then look at where we're going to right size in particular areas. And so that's our approach to this.
Thank you. And I guess my next question around that same area, we just talked about that the CDNF schools will receive the literacy coaches, but what are we doing from a funding mechanism to ensure that the money that we are utilizing via this money is going to the schools like with the most need and the most targeted students who would benefit from this funding the most? Like, do we have a plan of like how we're addressing equity outside of just saying that CDNF schools, like there's still like gaps that exist in an F school that doesn't exist in a C school?
Yeah, we've currently been actually looking at specific data, which is provided through our Chief Accountability, Andrew Okoski's team, who's been giving us specific data on student performance. So looking at things such as grades, how kids are performing on their grades, assessments that are actually being done to help us make the decisions in those particular areas.
All right, so I would once we decide how we're going to do that, I would like to see like what's the mechanism or metric that we're using to measure this, because to my colleague's point earlier, I would just hate for us to just not have an equity approach to this and like just be throwing out money where we can actually be seeing strides within the district. And I guess my last question is to talk about in that same realm is how are we going to monitor the progress to ensure that where we're spending money is actually rendering outcomes and impact for our district, as opposed to just we spent the money, we tried, and nothing happened. So I would like to know about our progress measurement.
Take this off again. Yes, that is a very important aspect, and thank you for that question. We will measure our aspect from various ways. We will look at, of course, the student data, because we will impact several thousand kids with putting the literacy coach into schools. But when we think about the professional development that will go on, and then there will be what we call the walkthroughs. We will do consistent walkthroughs, giving teachers where those coaches will be able to provide direct feedback to teachers to impact their practices within the classroom. We will keep an adjustment of how many classrooms we actually visit. And then as we roll out the rubric for what the best practices in literacy should look like, we will then keep data points from how are we doing with the implementation of that, so that we can measure the implementation of our practices against the results of the data outcomes for the students. And we can then see at that point. So we'll be measuring those things, and especially at December, we'll take a look of how have we done for the first semester. But this will be a month-to-month recording where we'll see how much time we're spending in schools, how effective are we, and then how is it impacting the results of the students.
Thank you. I think just the last point I'll make is that I would like to see this like as a document, so a year from now, like I can look at this and say, hey, this is how we use to measure it, and actually measure it up with the data that we receive to ensure that we're actually being equitable and targeting the students who need the most. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Vice President Collins.
I just want to, as I'm looking at how the data is presented, or the proposal is presented on my previous point, my previous request in terms of some follow-up information, I just want to make sure that I'm clear that when I'm asking for recurring expenses, like salaries of staff in each category, so early childhood education, core subject curriculum supplements, like y'all have this proposed allocation that total for pre-K. Forgive me if I'm being in the weeds with what I'm requesting, but I just want to make sure I get back what I'm looking for, and just looking at how it's presented, I just want to be clear that of, for example, pre-K, the $8 million, how much of that is one-time I don't know, classroom modification expense, right? Or building a quad or doing some new modulars on the site. So that's a one-time expense. And then what's recurring? Okay, we get the pre-K on, the first 8 million. That includes, 6 million, I'm just making up a number, but 6 million in salaries and benefits. And then quite naturally, something like pre-K goes on. And we've already discussed pre-K a little bit, and that's something that we would need to look at finding other money from. But I would like to have that type of breakdown for each category. I just want to make sure I'm clearly asking a question.
Yes, ma'am.
And again, return on investment, academic return on investment for each academic piece. And with each academic piece, if there's a new curriculum that's being proposed, I need to see, or a new whatever being proposed, but especially a new curriculum, because we just changed curriculums. And we have had academic improvement with that. Perhaps it wasn't enough academic improvement. I could roll with that, but I need to see some numbers, and I need to see it in a form of trends, because this past year with COVID might not be a fair comparison. So show me 3 to 4 years of data. Okay, we implemented it. We had, in year 4, we had whatever the previous curriculum was. Year 3, we said, oh, we're going to try everybody on tier 1. And so then we got a whole bunch of new curriculum. And then, okay, so then let me see what happened before, what happened once we started, leading up to now. If this is supposed, if there are any new curriculums being proposed, then, because there's a lot on educators and principals and support and coaches and all of these folks for us to change again. And I'm not anti-change, but I just want to make sure I have the information I need when he's talking about spending the dollars, whether or not. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice President Collins. Ms. Ware Jackson.
Thank you, President Tatman. Back to the social workers, if you don't mind. A couple of questions. What types of certifications do the social workers have? And are there different levels of expertise as it pertains to counseling students outside of academics?
Yes, ma'am. The social workers will have to be overseen by someone who is certified to oversee an MSW or a LSMW, and I may not be saying exactly right, but it will be someone with a master's degree who is licensed to provide social work services. If they have their license, but they still have to be meet with a supervisor, we have someone on staff who has that credential already.
So you're saying they'll be licensed, but they'll be overseen by someone who has the MSW or LSMW?
Yes, ma'am. And I
certification?
can give you the exact acronyms. I can provide that for you.
Okay, thanks, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
That it? Thank you, Ms. Ware Jackson. Okay, I should have hit request to speak. Here we go. I have a few questions. I see we have a definition of indirect costs.
Yes.
But can you give me the elementary version of it? Is that what?
Okay.
Is that what the Department of Education?
Yes,
is?
sir. The indirect costs is the amount of funds that the State Department of Education allows our district to operate the grant. They set the percentage, which I shared with you, which was 26.7433%. And for both grants, it's like $6 million. So those funds are spent, it's for the business operation of the grant. For example, it pays for clerical support, because with all of this comes, like, if we're doing contracts, if we're doing requisitions, all of those have to be processed. So it pays for salaries for this extra work that the system has to embark on.
So the 26.7433%, the state keeps?
No,
Or
that's...
we get it?
Yes, sir, that's for
Okay.
our district.
All right. On the curriculum supplements, it says the investment impacts East Baton Rouge Parish students, pre-K 12, with the exception of students attending Liberty, Baton Rouge High, Scotlandville High, and McKinley. Can you explain to me why?
Okay, I will ask Dr. Robinson to come.
Good evening, Board President Tapman, Vice President Collins, and to all the board. So when we're looking at curriculum, I know this question came about. So within the district, one of the things that we're trying to do this year is, for next year, is to streamline some of the curriculum. At some point in time, our schools had the opportunity to choose from an approved list, I'm assuming, at that time, of different curriculums. We have certain schools that are magnet, some that are GT schools, gifted and talented schools. There are even these programs within schools that are not necessarily magnet or gifted schools. So they're on different curriculums than the other students that are within that school. So perhaps you have a school that may, for example, Liberty, Baton Rouge High School, Scotlandville, McKinley High, they are using College Board. So that's a different curriculum from the other schools that are using perhaps my perspectives, and some of the middle schools are connected to my perspective that the high schools are using, but then you have some magnet programs where the high school that they're going to feed into is using College Board, but not the middle school. So there's not a sheer alignment from the middle school to the high school. So one of the things that we're trying to do this year for the new school year is try to align, because what happens is those kids that are coming, that are magnet, for example, that are coming from a middle school that's not using the College Board, that's a totally different curriculum, different methodology, different style of teaching. So when they leave that middle school, they've been learning, been accustomed to one thing. When they get to the high school, it's a disconnect. So in that case, what we're trying to do is align that piece, so that when they come from the middle school, a gifted middle school, and they go to, magnet middle school, and they go to a magnet high school, there's a seamless disconnect, so there is no disconnect there. So now elementary schools, I'm sorry, did that answer?
Yeah,
that
it does.
part?
I'm good.
Okay.
I think that clears my question up, so
Okay.
I'm good. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move now to individual student supports. And it may end up being a dumb question. I thought we already used Edgenuity.
Yes, sir, we do use Edgenuity.
Okay, so we're buying more of it, or, my question is that that's part of the allocation of the 4.3 million. If we already have it.
Continuation of it. We're
Okay.
using Edgenuity in some schools for credit recovery purposes. And then and in some of the schools, we're using another platform. I forgot the name of that one, I'm sorry. Illuminate. Yes, so they're using that because of the fact that we don't have teachers, physical teachers in certain classrooms, we're actually using that proximity, I'm sorry, not Illuminate. We're using proximity because of the teachers, where we perhaps didn't have a math teacher or whatever content teacher we needed. So we would use that program to take care of the instructional piece, but for credit recovery, we're using Edgenuity.
Okay. Do we have built-in, and I don't know if it's in this section or you're going to get to it, so I apologize if I'm getting ahead of myself, tutoring services that we're going to be bringing in, contracting with, or anything as a part of any of this program?
So to my knowledge, certain schools were kind of doing their own tutorial programs.
but not part of the ESSER grant.
No, sir.
Okay.
Not a part of that, but some of them are using their title funds in order to do some of that.
Okay. Tell me about the literacy coaches for low-performing schools. Tell me what a literacy coach is going to look like.
So Dr. Lashley can come up and share that information with you. I can tell you about the math coaches, which will be in the CD and F schools, and those math coaches will be distributed. So they'll have maybe 5, 6, 7 schools apiece, and they'll be providing professional development and support to the teachers and students in those schools.
So tell me what the qualifications of those math coaches are.
The math coaches, well, certainly they would
know
need
math.
to have a
Yeah.
bachelor's degree, but some of them may have master's degrees, in curriculum instruction or in mathematics, but they would have to be able to be qualified to teach mathematics. So we're looking more or less for secondary people who have a specialty in mathematics.
So they'd be certified teachers?
Yes. Oh, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. And although they're secondary certified, because of what they're doing and coaching, they can help support and service the elementary schools.
All right.
Okay.
Dr. Lashley?
Yes, sir. Repeat your question again. You wanted to know.
I just kind of wanted to get a sense of what that looks like. He explained it for math, so these are just certified teachers that specialize in literacy, or which you've got to have some sort of qualifications to go out and hire these people, right?
Yes, sir, we
Okay.
do. So we're looking specifically for those coaches that will have, of course, they're certified teachers. We are laser focused on those folks that may have reading specialist areas. There are quite a few teachers in our, or employees in our district that already have been through several trainings in reading, so we're looking specifically for those folks. But again, it'll be teachers who basically are certified and that they may have had coaching experiences within their schools. There are those that are rising up that have been content leaders. So we are looking for those leaders to come forward so that those will be our qualified candidates for the literacy coach position.
So I know we've had a difficult time recruiting teachers to make sure we had teachers in all our classrooms. You feel confident we're going to be able to find people to do this?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to hold him to that. Don't worry, Dr. Lashley. Okay, thank you. Just a couple of comments. One is, on the social work, I think that's a great piece, but I'm just going to make a comment here. I think if we could get our school counselors doing school counseling, I think it's not going to cost us anything. We've got, and we all know this, right? We know that school counselors are doing a lot more than school counseling, and if we ever needed them more, we need them now. And so I'm going to push a little bit to make sure that they're not glorified secretaries and they're not running errands and they're actually doing school counseling work.
We're 100% with you, President Tam. We're actually going to be modifying what they are actually doing in terms of their course. Right now, guidance counselors are used to do things like data entry and a lot of different things outside of counseling children.
Right.
And so we're going to be modifying as we're going to be talking with school leaders going into the fall around what is acceptable to be used for guidance counselors and what is not.
Great. I just want to get that on the record because I think we're going to come back to that. It's an important issue. And then I just want to raise up my colleagues and somewhat what Mr. Howard said. We need to look at our long game on this. We got a bunch of money coming in, but we've got to figure out, this might be our 1-year plan or a 6-month plan. We got to know what the 2- and 3-year plan is, because I don't know that money's going to keep rolling in the way that it is. And so, then I guess I just have one more question, and maybe it's for Kelly or you can answer. So the ESSER $1, did we just spend those in advance and then get reimbursed by the government? Because if we got them in April, we spent a lot of money on this before then, right?
Yes, sir. With the ESSER funds, keep in mind, we had to allocate a portion to our non-public schools and also to our charter schools. But we have spent, like I said earlier, all but $2 million, and we're rolling that over to provide initiatives for our students with disabilities.
Okay. And then on the ESSER 2, and I know we're going to get to ESSER 3, half of those funds came in March 30th, and 20% of the 3 came in
Yes,
ahead of
sir.
time. So some of that money's already in the bank.
No,
I mean,
sir.
not the bank, but, you know.
No, sir, that is what you are approving tonight, the
Okay.
2 budgets. We have the allocation, but the money hasn't been like put in our account yet.
From the state?
From the state. It should be put in our account in June.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate, thank you very much. Ms. Bernard?
Thank you, President Tatman. Some of the funds are allocated to new staff positions, literacy coaches and math coaches. That's correct?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
and then some of the funding is allocated to additional days for existing staff, correct?
Yes, ma'am, that will be in ESSER 3.
Okay. Thank you. So I asked for some spreadsheets before when we met to back up some of this material. Like Ms. Collins, I need to know if it's a recurring expense or a one-time expense, and also Mr. Howard asked the same question in a different way. But also, I have another question. Are some staff positions that would ordinarily be paid or were formerly paid out of the general fund, or portions of their salaries now coming from ESSER funds? Are there any staff positions that have been paid in the past out of the general fund budget and are now a portion of their staff, their salary coming from ESSER funds?
Yes, ma'am, I'm going to share in
That's what I want.
ESSER 3.
I want the complete breakdown on that for every position that is being paid out of, if it's a classroom teacher or every single position that would ordinarily have been paid out of the general fund and is now shifted a portion of that salary into the ESSER funds, because these are people that we have to pay for the next 20 years. And we won't have ESSER funds in 20 years. Where is that information in the presentation? Because I don't see it in there, broken out that way.
We can provide a breakdown for you.
Okay, and when can I get that?
Can I get it to you next week? Would that be possible?
Next week?
Sure.
Okay, and the whole board will get it?
I'll provide it to
In a
Dr. Narcisse.
spreadsheet?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, because I really have to have that. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Bernard. So we'll continue with the presentation to the ESSER 3, please.
Okay, so with the ESSER 3 allocation, we were awarded 20%. And with the 20%, the total allocation is $28.9 million. As you can see, our indirect costs will be $6 million, and our administrative costs will be $115,000. So that leaves us with a direct allocation of $22.7 million. So with the ESSER 3, we are planning to allocate at least $4.5 million to our Smart Start program, and that is the program that is going to provide our teachers and staff members with additional professional development, and that they will come to report to school 3 days earlier. So for the teachers, as you can see with the breakdown, that will total $3.8 million, and with our paraprofessionals, that will be $425,000. For our transportation staff, that will be $175,000, and for child nutrition, that will be $126,000. On the next slide, we are proposing to allocate $2.3 million for math education, and with this initiative, this is where you see the math supervisor. It will be a 12-month certified position, and also in this initiative, we will hire 12 math coaches, and they will be assigned to 53 C, D, and F schools. Also with this, we're going to invest in Dreambox. Before, when we came to you at the Committee of the Whole, the price that was given to us was $500,000, but because we miscalculated the licenses from the vendor and from input from teachers, that amount now is going to be $800,000 for the licenses. The next initiative is the EL Instructional Specialist. And this initiative is to pay for 44 new EL Instructional Specialists that will serve 30 schools. And we are doing this because we have a growing population of our English learners. As of today, we have 3,100 English learners enrolled in our schools. The next initiative will be for art, teachers and coaches, where we are proposing $1.3 million for 8 teachers and 2 curriculum specialists that will focus on dance and drama. And then the diverse teachers, we are proposing to allocate $2.1 million for 22 teachers to be hired at 5 of our alternative schools. The next initiative is we're proposing funding for contracts. As you can see, the University of Washington Center for Educational Leadership is a professional development contract for all of our principals. We are proposing contracts for our literacy initiative, which is Insight, $189,000, Learning Forward, which is $9,300, and the New Teacher Project, which is $265,000. Then for our accountability initiative, we are proposing $1.1 million, and that is for Amplified, and this provides our beginning of the year test, middle and end of the year for our literacy assessments, and also for ANET is an online platform for benchmark assessments for grades 3 through 8. Amplified is total at $762,000, and Achievement Network at $346,000. Then our next initiative is proximity learning. And with proximity learning, we are able to service 923 students and providing live streaming virtual classrooms with quality instruction. And then you see again core subject materials for ESSER 3 at $1.7 million. This is for My Perspective, Eureka, Amplified, and Studies Weekly. And this is supplemental materials for all of our schools. And then we're adding $452,000 for supplemental books. And our next initiative is for technology. We are proposing $800,000, and this is to support our district with virtual learning. The next initiative is for heating, ventilation, and air condition, and this is to serve all of our schools, our 83 schools. This is basically to upgrade our air filters and to provide COVID-19 supplies to all of our schools and sites. And then again, Mr. Tapman, as you can see, our initiative with the school counselor supplement, we are proposing to pay the salaries of 92 counselors impacting 73 schools. We will pay our counselors an additional month. And with this, it is our desire and hope that our school counselors will provide opportunities to plan and implement a comprehensive counseling program to prepare students for the future and supporting them with academics, career, and social development. And then our next initiative is our social and emotional learning initiative, which we are allocating $1.1 million. And this will be new employees to the district. Their title will be Social and Emotional Interventionists, and we are proposing to hire 11 of these employees. And also in this initiative, we will have 2 contracts, the Council Foundation and Rethink Education. And as you can see, the remaining of our funds, which is $32 million, we will receive in January of 2022. And with our additional funds that we are going to receive for ESSER 2, we are planning to implement the Home Start program for our pre-K. The first year of that contract will be $270,000. And this is to provide early childhood education and support to 50 East Baton Rouge Parish Public Housing Authority families. And this will help our families prepare their preschoolers for kindergarten and school success. And then our ESSER 3 funding, as you can see, I estimated that we will receive another $144 million, and the state has not given me the timeline for receiving the additional funds. That ends the presentation on ESSER 3.
Thank you. We have a couple of questions. Vice President Collins.
With the proximity learning, is that the same, more or less than what we already doing with proximity? Because I know we have a proximity contract already.
Good evening, President Tatman, Ms. Collins, and Dr. Narcisse and the board. Proximity learning is actually, that's the same contract that we have. So it's a continuation planning for next year, and we're actually able to touch 900 students through this live streaming program, and it allows us a more efficient way to service some schools. So say, for example, a school may need just 2 sections of Chemistry 2. Instead of having to pay a full salary for someone, we pay for a live teacher that is streamed into the classroom for those students at a discounted rate. And so it literally actually took the place of 32 different teachers if we actually just funded those funded positions, and it was a savings of about $1,300,000.
I remember when this was presented, and at that time the pitch was hard to recruit teachers.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So it's in those hard to recruit areas. For example, we actually use it, we started using it initially for bilingual math teachers at the high school level, because it's very hard to find Spanish-speaking math teachers. And so we have lots of students, EL students, at several of our high schools. And so they're coming into the country at 14, 15 years old and asked to do Algebra 1 in English, and they're struggling. And so this has been giving them some success because they're learning the content of mathematics in their native language. And so we use it very strategically to service those really specialized areas where we know that there are some struggles. Also, just world languages, Spanish. We have some schools, especially small schools, that may not have enough students to actually cover the need for a full teacher, but we can actually share amongst 4 schools at one time, and those students can actually take the course at the same time, running the same bell schedule, and they have access. So we're using one kind of teacher that's reaching 30 kids in 4 different high schools at one time. And so it's a live streaming opportunity. They have access to the teacher at all, in the evening time, and they offer tutoring. Their lessons are recorded, so that if they are at home and they need to go back and see what was covered, or if they miss class, they can access it at a later time. So they have, it's really savvy and really exciting the way we can do these types of things. So we want to be able to provide equity across the district, especially in some of our most needy schools. And this has just been a really interesting way that we've been able to provide that service.
Okay, so then, and this would probably, if I'm understanding correctly, since it's the same, this might be an example of what my colleague was saying. She wanted a list of what was already being paid for out of our general fund, but we shifting a little bit and
Yes, ma'am.
pulling from the, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Vice President Collins. Ms. Bernard.
The 11 social emotional learning employees, what are their qualifications for the positions? What, is this a new position, and what are the salaries? And what type of staff person, what are the qualifications of the staff person who supervises them?
So this will be supervised by someone who has an expertise in multi-tier systems of support and social emotional learning. The qualifications is that they must have a bachelor's degree and a background in teaching, because they need to know what it's like to be in a school. They will not be providing mental health support. They will be providing support on the social emotional learning programs throughout the district to make sure that we are implementing the programs correctly and with fidelity.
So there's also funding for the program that they will be trained in that program?
They will be trained in the program, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and are these permanent or temporary positions?
My understanding is our goal is to make sure that they are permanent moving forward.
So these will be at some point in the general fund, the salaries for these 11 positions. It will be at some point in the general fund when the ESSER funds are gone.
I would have to get you more information on that.
Okay, and that's just interesting. Thank you. Not that we don't need it, but thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Bernard. Ms. Dyson.
I just had a quick question on, I'm thinking that this is where I heard, on this same slide, is where I heard about adding an additional month and doing the 11-month, but I heard it's the 11-month counselors. And so what I wanted to find out is, are we going to be asking our current counselors to add a month?
So this is an actual opt-in opportunity.
Okay.
So they don't have to do it, but we have some counselors who, they do work the summer.
Right.
You know, they do. They work the summer because they're that dedicated and they like to make sure things are in place. And so we want to allow those counselors who are doing that work an opportunity to be compensated for that work. And so this is an opt-in opportunity that we'll be presenting to our counselors at the elementary, middle, and high school level. So at the elementary level, we are looking at doing an opt-in for 10 months. So that means that they can report back 2 weeks early if they so choose to opt in, and they can leave 2 weeks later. So they don't have to continue working and, you know, again, not be compensated. And so this is a great opportunity for us to see how this works and see if this is something that maybe we need to model in the future. But this is an opt-in opportunity. It is not required that the counselors do it.
And we have the funding that would allow every counselor in our system at all of our schools, if they all happen to opt in?
We've allocated that amount
Okay.
just in case, right? Because
Yeah.
you want to make sure that whoever wants to participate is able to participate. And then if they choose not to, then there's no harm, no foul. Because some people have plans, of course, through the summer and things like that. So we wanted to be cognizant of that.
But I know that a lot of our counselors are helping with scheduling for the students, and so I don't know if that's going to stay in their duties, but I know that that has to be done, you know, at a certain time period and by a certain time period. So I know that a lot of counselors will appreciate this. So thank you. I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
wanted to get some clarity on that.
Vice President Collins.
I'm sorry, I gave up the mic too soon earlier, so I just need to finish my questions. I wasn't paying attention, it wasn't you, it's me. Okay, the art teachers and coaches, 14 schools, how, and I'm 200% like, we should have art and music teachers at every single school, so I'm not opposed to the concept, but how did we decide which 14 schools?
So the expansion of the art teachers and the curriculum specialists, the particular schools, when we provide you with the packet, we will provide you with exactly the schools that those teachers in where they will be placed. We're trying to enhance and grow the art program across the district. And this is Mr. Joffrion's way of trying to provide many of our students who ordinarily would not have the opportunity to have art, meaning, excuse me, meaning dance and drama. He's trying to provide that in some of those pockets of schools where we wouldn't typically be able to provide that to the students. So when we provide the packet to you all, we'll make sure that we include the information around the arts in terms of where those schools, which schools those staff members will be placed.
Okay. All right, I look forward to seeing the details.
Okay.
Thank you. My other question, I'm trying to understand I get proposed professional development around some of this stuff, but like the University of Washington professional development is coming across, it's not really specific, and so then I'm trying to understand, I mean, is it replacing the function of our current PDs and EDs? It's just saying it's supporting development for district and school leaders, and I know that we do have existing development, and so then I'm just trying to understand in different titles in the district that do that work. I'm just trying to understand what it's about.
Good evening, Board President Tatman, Vice President Collins, board members, and Dr. Narcisse. The University of Washington Center for Educational Leadership is a leader of leadership professional development. They'll be working very closely with our executive directors for school leadership to improve their practice around coaching and modeling for school leaders. This will impact all 83 of our schools directly. It will directly impact our principals. It will also indirectly impact our instructional leadership teams that principals will be gathering this for this summer. That includes their assistant principals, perhaps their deans, and other teacher leaders that they're going to be working with. So the structure of the learning is all about observing practice in schools. So the executive directors for school leadership, along with principals, will be partnering in terms of teaming and coaching based on evidence in schools. So executive directors will get better at observing and providing feedback to their principals, which in turn strengthens their instructional leadership team and their instructional leadership in schools. They will be coaching side by side with executive directors and principals in schools under the supervision of myself in the school leadership area.
Okay.
And this is a year-long partnership.
Okay. Just if you could, in response to my earliest request, help me understand, because conceptually I support the concept, but I am struggling to understand where the difference, like, okay, because I know we do that kind of thing already, and it new, different, or whatever, just help me see where the new and different is.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm confused about the ANET 346. Is that the same that we already approved? It looks like it. And so is this just another example of shifting from the general fund to pull it from here? Or is this on page 9, is this ANET 346,000, is that something that's a whole new piece that I'm not understanding?
That was the contract from last month, and the contract last month that you guys approved was slated for ESSER funding.
Okay.
It's the same
Oh,
one.
yeah, that's right, it was.
The same one.
Okay, it's just put in its overall, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let me make sure I don't overlook my notes. So I'm gonna have to put my name in the queue again. But this, I think that is it for me, thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Collins. You'll get another crack at it at the Committee of the Whole. So that concludes our ESSER workshop. We'll have the Committee of the Whole immediately following this, and we have a motion to adjourn by Mr. Howard. We are adjourned. He's like, what? I didn't.
All right, I now call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting of East Baton Rouge Parish School Board located at 3000 North Sherwood Forest Boulevard in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I shall now read to you some very important information about this meeting. The public will be allowed to attend at a reduced rate of 50% capacity of the Professional Development Center meeting room space once the capacity has been reached. Admission into the meeting space will be closed. All audience members will be required to wear a mask at all times. Masks will be available upon request. All audience members will also undergo temperature screening before entering the meeting room. The Committee of the Whole meeting scheduled for today, May 6, 2021, immediately following the board workshop that we just had, will be streamed live via YouTube. A link to watch the meeting can be found on board docs located on the school board's website at ebrschools.org/about. A period for written public comment will be provided before the meeting as well as before each action is taken by the board on an action item. Individuals wishing to make a public comment about any of the posted action items will need to click on the agenda item in board docs and submit via the highlighted public comment hyperlink on the agenda item details. Online comments are available for public review. And with that, Madam Secretary, can you please call the roll?
District 9, President Tatman.
Present.
District 4, Vice President Collins.
Present.
District 1, Mr. Blue.
Here.
District 2, Mr. Lannis. District 3, Mr. Howard. District 5, Ms. Ware Jackson.
Here.
District 6, Ms. Dyson.
Present.
District 7, Mr. Gode.
Here.
District 8, Ms. Bernard.
Thank you. We have a quorum. All right, now moving forward to item C1, receive as information. Okay, receive as information an update from the superintendent.
Thank you, Vice President Collins. I wanted to start off by just saying that leadership has asked staff for how do we return to central office board meetings, and we are actually following up on that. We will be providing a timeline to the board in the upcoming days on how we will return to our boardroom as we move forward. So just wanted to bring that up. Let me begin first by saying, first I'd like to take this time to acknowledge all the hard work, hardworking educators during this Teacher Appreciation Week. Thank you for the work that you do for every student in every community, in every classroom every day. I believe Board Member Dyson will now read a special resolution into the record for us.
Whereas we are approaching the close of the 2020-2021 school year, and we want to take this opportunity to show our appreciation to all teachers in the East Baton Rouge Parish School System. And whereas teachers in East Baton Rouge Parish School System taught students virtually, face-to-face, and in the hybrid model due to the COVID-19 pandemic, bravely continuing to provide high-quality instruction and support of students to open children's minds to the magic of ideas, knowledge, and dreams. And whereas members of the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board are fully aware of the contributions made by the teachers of this parish to the education of each child in this system by their commitment to excellence and their dedication to the teaching profession. And whereas we, the members of the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board, recognize the essential role teachers play in our community through this school system by working with students in all areas of academic and personal development and encouraging them to become productive members of our community. And whereas teachers continue to improve their professional skills through learning how to deliver instruction to students face-to-face and online simultaneously, continued postgraduate studies, attended virtual conferences, workshops, and seminars, thereby strengthening their position as role models for students, valued advocates for parents, and desirable leaders of our community. And whereas teachers continue to influence us long after our school days are only memories. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board does hereby publicly commend its teachers for the devotion and dedication to the goal of quality education for every student in this school system. And be it further resolved that the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board does hereby proclaim May 3rd through 7th, 2021 as Teacher Appreciation Week and May 4th, 2021 as Teacher Appreciation Day. And I understand we are going to not move on this until our regular board meeting, but I would definitely move on it if I could right now. So I know that comes from all of us with our sincere appreciation for all the hard work that our teachers have given us, especially during these challenging times. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Dyson. A big congratulations goes out to the students and teachers and staff of Baton Rouge Center for Creative and Performing Arts. Last week, they were named the #1 elementary magnet school of excellence in the nation. We're also extremely proud to recognize Baton Rouge Flame, which was named one of the top 10 magnet schools of excellence in the nation. Magnet Schools of Excellence poster. I'm proud to announce that 2 of our students took home first place in the National Magnet School Month Student Poster Contest in their grade bands. Congratulations to Sydney Tucker from McKinley Middle School, McKinley Middle Academic Magnet School, Magnet School of Visual and Performing Arts, and Tiffany Pham from Baton Rouge Magnet High. We look forward to formally recognizing both students at the full board meeting. Joe Hack, students at C-Tech participated in the 3rd annual Joe Hack event virtually this year, reinforcing their coding and technology skills this year. Proud to announce about our pre-K expansion. Pre-K enrollment is off to an enormous start, with record numbers and families applying for spots in early childhood education across the city. At this time last year, we only had 85 families that applied. Currently, right now, we have 1,289 families that have applied for pre-K 3 and pre-K 4 seats as compared to the previous year. Vaccinated before you graduate. In an effort to return to school safely and in person in the fall, we've partnered with the Mayor's Office to offer vaccination sites at our high schools. Any student over the age of 16 and with parental consent can receive a vaccine for free if they and their guardians choose to. We have a list of those schools on website, which if anyone has any question, please go to our school website, ebrschools.org. Last but not least, our strategic plan. Members of the cabinet met last week to continue our strategic plan work. We will be announcing upcoming community forums and input periods over the course of the next few days. We look forward to sharing our vision and work thus far with the community. Madam Vice President, that is my update.
Thank you. Okay. Quarterly report from CSRS.
Good evening, President Tatman, Vice President Collins, board members, and Dr. Narcisse. I'm Judith Anderson with CSRS, and thank you for the opportunity to present our quarterly report. I will start off. Might want to go to the first slide. There we go. I will start off with a brief overview of Phase 3, which was associated with the 2008 tax plan. The latest new schools a part of Phase 3 were Broadmoor Elementary, Park Elementary, C-Tech, and Jefferson Terrace. Jefferson Terrace was our last to be completed of that of Phase 3. The total budget was $384,686,456. There is $1,736,036,068 left. Majority of that is associated with Jefferson Terrace, as we still need to demo the existing building, as well as we're doing some ongoing work with the playgrounds. And so a good bit of that will be expended. And all of those projects will be complete soon. So again, this was Jefferson Terrace, the last one that closed out that phase. Just some photos of it. And then moving into Phase 4. Phase 4 of the tax plan spans from 2020 to 2030. We're currently in year 2, preparing for year 3 of the tax plan. The total budget will be $397,641,853. So far, we've encumbered $15,050,282, and of that, $10,251,380 has been expended to date. Glen Oaks High School was the first of Phase 4, which is substantially complete. It was an expansion and renovation of consisting of an auxiliary gym, field house, renovation of Building J, upgrades to the outdoor basketball courts and football field. Currently under renovation is Crestworth Middle School. We're preparing it as a summer project for the K through 8th elementary school. So it is all going and should be substantially complete in July. The first new school of Phase 4 is McKinley Elementary. It will combine Jefferson University Terrace and Buchanan Elementary Schools on the University Terrace site. It will house grades pre-K through 5th and will be 91,874 square feet to accommodate approximately 790 students. This project just recently bid, and we are in the process of getting a contract awarded to the general contractor. And just some images of what's to come. And overall, we look forward to continuing working with you all to produce first-class facilities to aid and continue in the building of academic excellence. And we'll continue to also work with your partners, VIPS, the Scotlandville Engineering Advisory Council, iCare, and others, as we have been doing. Are there any questions?
I just want to comment, hold up, okay, that I'm going to miss old UT. That was my stomping ground from kindergarten through 5th grade, and I still remember lots of fond memories, but other babies will be making new memories in such a beautiful building, looks like. So, hail the future McKinley Elementary. All right, thank you. I don't see anybody else with questions. All right, moving forward to item D1, items for consideration. Grant. All right, consideration of the following grants: the Hartford Fire Safety Education Grant in the amount of $5,000 to provide district fire safety education and programming. Item D1B, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, DARA, School Bus Rebate 2020 Grant in the amount of $250,000 to replace 10 older model buses to reduce diesel emissions and exposure in EBR Parish. We'll be contributing to the, okay. Oh, wait, I'm not finished reading. I gotta finish reading. One more. Project Lead the Way, Dow Southern University Grant in the amount of $40,000, $10,000 for 4 schools to provide STEM training, project-based lessons, and materials. And that is it, and I have Connie as a first. Do I have a second? Mr. Tapman? All right. Seeing no board comment, any public comment? Seeing no public comment, back to the board. Seeing no board comment, Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Please vote.
District 1, Mr. Blue.
Yes.
District 3, Mr. Howard.
Yes.
District 4, Vice President Collins.
Yay.
District 5, Ms. Ware Jackson.
Yes.
District 6, Ms. Dyson.
Yes.
District 7, Mr. Gode.
Yes.
District 8, Ms. Bernard.
Yes.
District 9,
Yes.
President Tapman. Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving forward to item D2, Grant Jobs for ESS Students Initiative. Consideration of a request for the approval of grant agreement between East Baton Rouge Parish School System and the Louisiana Rehabilitation Services for Jobs for ESS Students Initiative, called JESSE for short. Funding source, Louisiana Rehabilitation Services. All right, Ms. Dyson, Board Member Dyson, and seconded by Board Member Baloo. And you have a presentation for us.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, President Tapman, Vice President Collins, members of the board, Superintendent Narcisse. I'm excited to have an opportunity to share with you some awesome news for our students with disabilities that are in high school. This evening I have with me, I call him Dr. Robert Garcia. He's one of our new special ed facilitators, supervisors, and I want to ask Mr. Garcia to come forward and share this awesome news for our students with disabilities.
I know, is this the one I'm missing from Park Forest Middle? He was Teacher of the Year or something? I miss you, Mr. Garcia. Come on up.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith.
Good to see you continue to do good things. I just got to give me another strong one over there at Park Forest.
Good evening, Vice President Collins, President Tatman, Dr. Narcisse, and school board members. My name is Robert Garcia from ESS Department. Thank you for the opportunity to present for consideration the Jobs for ESS Students Initiative, or what we call JESSE. JESSE has been conceptualized to meet the needs of our students to strengthen their employability and vocational skills. The goal of JESSE is really to provide our students with disabilities in high school the opportunity to get a paid employment while increasing the job readiness and the things that they learn, vocational skills and employability skills they learn in the classroom. So currently we do have what we call pre-employment transition services that we have in the all of our high schools that are being provided by the Louisiana Rehabilitation Services. And Jesse is actually part of the work-based learning component of pre-eds. So Jesse is a collaborative effort among the EBR School Board, the different departments, the Louisiana Rehab Services, and our pre-eds vendor that is Opportunity Now. With having Jesse, we are able to employ our students with disabilities and for them to get a part-time job in the district during the school year and over the summer, while getting reimbursed by the Louisiana Rehabilitation Services for up to 240 hours per school year and for 2 school years. So the idea is the students will go through classroom instruction, and then after that, they're going to transition to work-based learning experiences such as Jesse. So we started having this conversation, I think, pre-COVID with the grants department, and then in February, we finally were able to organize ourselves. So as you can see in the diagram, we do have our eligible students with disabilities at the center because they are our focus. And so we do have all these different departments and agencies that are working collaboratively to make this happen. We do have the director of ESS who's involved in this, the regional manager from LRS, the district supervisor from LRS. We have the team leader of Opportunity Now, the director of HR, and the chief financial officer and grant specialist, and of course our participating schools and departments. So what is the process of implementation? So basically, students in high school, they apply for the pre-employment transition services. And of course, Louisiana Rehab Services will approve. They're going to go through the classroom instruction, and then if they're interested, they can apply for a part-time job here in EBR through Jesse. So just this past March, we did a student diversity job fair for our students with disabilities. So we linked it to the Jesse initiative, hoping that one day the board will approve this so that the students who participated in the diversity job fair, we will be able to get back to them and give them the news if they are eligible and if they meet the eligibility criteria. So the team has also developed the eligibility criteria, which is in the comprehensive packet that was submitted. So and it, among others, the criteria includes, they must meet the employability skills assessment. They must not have a grade of F, more two Fs. A lot of different criteria that we set so that to ensure that the students who are entering Jesse they are job ready. And then, of course, the students will work once they have been accepted for Jesse. They're going to work for up to 240 hours per school year. And in the comprehensive proposal, we indicated and we agreed with the chief financial officer that students will be getting $9.70 per hour. And next is the EBR team. So the EBR team, the ESS team in collaboration with HR will facilitate the interview and the completion of HR paperwork. So we already have connected with the director of HR to put the requirements together. The ESS team and Opportunity Now, our pre-eds provider, will monitor and mentor the part-time student workers in the different sites. And then, of course, the grants department and the payroll will process the payroll of the students and complete the invoices for reimbursements and for training reimbursements also, and for reimbursements for wages. And of course, Louisiana Rehabilitation Services will reimburse the school board for student wages, and they will also pay the school board for training the students. So the team has developed different jobs. We coordinated with HR department and looked at the different job descriptions, and of course, we looked at our students' abilities and needs. So we were able to develop some jobs, and of course, we also collaborated with some schools and some departments to help us develop jobs that are needed and available in their sites. For example, Agri-Science Aid, that's a product of our collaboration with Broadmoor High School. Classroom Assistant with Bel Air High School, just to name a few. Right now, we do have around 9 jobs that have been developed. Of course, we are open to developing more just to meet the needs of our schools and give our students opportunities and diversity in whatever they do. And also for our students with significant disabilities who may need job carving and some support, we do have something in place there. We are stipulating in the job description that job carving can be done for our students with significant disabilities, whereby we're going to identify their strength, and then of course we're going to look at the nature of the job, and then we are going to customize the job for them. They will also be partnered with an ESS staff to help and coach them with their job duties. So what are the benefits of Jesse? As you can see, Jesse really is opening opportunities for our students who may have been left out sometimes in terms of employment. So it actually gives them an opportunity to practice and really, most of all, generalize their vocational and employability skills, which is very important. It will strengthen workforce development. They're gonna develop their work trades, improve their work trades. They're gonna improve their soft skills, their hard skills, while being in an environment that is very authentic. They will also, of course, earn wages and can practice managing their money. So once approved, we will review the results of the Student Diversity Job Fair. We will contact the students who meet or met the interview and other requirements. Like I said, we do have like a list of requirements that they would have to meet. And then of course, we're gonna advertise this to the schools and encourage them to participate. By the way, with the schools, we're gonna involve also the executive secretary and the principals to help with the payroll and monitoring. And then of course, we are going to conduct, along with the team members of the Jesse team, we're going to conduct the orientation. Then we will commence Jesse. Questions?
Board Member Dyson.
This is so wonderful. What a great opportunity we'll be offering. I'm really interested to get some ongoing feedback on where we are with it. I'm hoping that we're going to involve the parents or caregivers and maybe do a shout out to make sure that they are aware of this, and maybe have some kind of a meeting that they can learn more about it to help support their child or person that they're in custody with. Some of them are probably in homes, and so that's gonna, I just feel like the people that are gonna be there as their support system, encouraging them when they get home from work and when they're going to work and that kind of thing. So let's just keep this in the forefront that we need to involve them.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for this. It's a good thing.
Seeing no other board questions or comments, any board questions or comments from the public? And what did I say? Yeah, any questions or comments from the public? Comments, thank you. Okay. That's just my mind getting ready for whatever vacation I'm gonna have at the end of the month. All right, and so coming back to the board, seeing no further questions or comments from the board, thank you so much. I agree, it's very, very exciting. Moving forward with item 3, budget. Oh, Jesus.
Please
I really
vote.
am on vacation in my mind. Okay, thank you. It's too early.
Do you want to do, the motion carries.
Thank you. Now, moving forward to item 3, budgets, ESSER. Items for consideration, consideration of a request for the approval of the following budgets. ESSER 2 in the amount of $32.1 million and ESSER 3 in the amount of $28.9 million. Can I get a motion?
I'd like to move that we send it without recommendation as a standalone item.
Can I get a second on the motion?
I'll second.
All righty. And Ms. Bernard, I recognize Board Member Bernard.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that because there are still so many questions about the ESSER budgets, that I would like it to be sent as a standalone item. That's my only thing is, I just don't think it's going to go on the consent agenda. It's going to be removed and placed as a separate item anyway, so we might as well just go ahead and send it as a standalone item. That's all. Thanks.
Board President Tapman.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I support that just because I expect the item to be pulled from the consent agenda anyway. So that's why I did that. I do think that when it comes to this, it kind of goes back to something Mr. Howard said. I don't know how we do this, but I would really like to take a look and try to get some information on how do we do like a 3-year budget where we look at the money that we're going to have in a year. And because what I'm really looking for is sustainability, how we're going to sustain this over a long period of time. And I mean, I do expect that we'll get some more money because I don't think this thing's completely over, but I don't think we'll be getting money in 3 years. And so how will it impact our district? I don't want to bring all these people in and all these resources in. I mean, I want to bring them in, and we're going to bring them in, right? But we may do things a little bit differently if we know that in a year or 18 months, we're going to be pulling these positions, we're going to be pulling these resources away. That's going to be painful. So I just would like to have an idea as a board member as we move forward that we're guided by data and that we're guided by financial decisions and whatever that may be. I mean, maybe we need to go back and ask for more money, or maybe we need to approach it a little different. My budget guru over there staring at me, I would think would agree, and maybe you have an idea about, how could we look at, I know my company has a 1, 3, and 5 year budget, and I'm little. I'm not asking to make people work for no reason at all, but I really do think we need something that gives us vision moving forward in terms of the dollars and the resources that we have, and that's it. Thank you.
Board Member Godey.
Yes, thank you, Madam Vice President, and thank you, President Tapman. I do agree that this needs to be looked at and very carefully for sustainability. But I also think that we ought to be very careful about looking at this not just as an add-on on top, because hopefully as we as a board work through our strategic plan, we will be coming up the areas where we want to focus on, and there are going to be areas where we're spending money today that we won't want to spend money on to devote to these things. So I guess what I'm trying to say, it's not a static look that you're taking. It's going to be some things we'll stop doing and some things we'll pick up doing. And as far as a 3 to 5 year budget, that's been something we've been asking for years. And I think we're finally getting to the point that we can have that. And I think it's something that needs to be done. First, we got to finish the strategic plan and get past the first budget, and then we can do that. But I guess I just want to reemphasize that we're not going to be working off a static base, that we're going to have to stop doing some things that we're doing that aren't effective to try to do things that are more effective. So I support bringing it to the board without recommendation next time, but I just wanted to make those comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other board comment, any public comment? Yes, sir.
Hello once again. Just a couple quick ones. Number one, a lot of things we talked about, Teacher Advisory Committee, a lot of good things we're hearing. Something we brought up before with the ESL students. There's been a lot of work in other districts about pathways, not just hiring extra personnel and putting them on campuses, but to actually create pathways to bring them from a Spanish-speaking school to an English-speaking school. Currently, the idea is to just throw them in all English-speaking classes, even if they are zeros or ones. If we're going to have this money and we're going to look at it, can we really develop a pathway to ease them from just Spanish-speaking to English-speaking and help them actually get better and not just put them in there to fail? I've seen several give up over the past few years because they go to our schools and they have everything in English. Nothing that creates a pathway for success for them. And they are becoming a larger part of not only our school system, but our community. We owe it to our community to make sure that these children of our ESL students are 100% successful when they come to our classrooms. Number two, we have a lot of new positions. Is there any questions about whether we're actually going to promote from within, or we're going to continue to go outside and bring all these new people in? We would actually like to see, because I still stand by my comments, you have some of the best teachers in the state right here in EBR, and we can do some of these jobs and positions. Give us a chance to be a part of it, elevate some of us too. I'm hoping that'll be part of the plan. And the third one deals with something we've had a problem with in the past. Nothing you've done, Dr. Narcisse. This is something we've seen in the past. When we're giving out all these dollars and we're giving out all this money, can we have any accountability to make sure that there are no kickbacks coming into anybody that is awarding these dollars? Thank you.
Any other comment from the public? Seeing none, back to the board, and seeing none, Madam Secretary, call the vote.
Please vote. Oh, wait.
And okay.
District 1, Mr. Blue.
Yes.
District 2, Mr. Lannis.
Yay.
District 3, Mr. Howard.
Yes.
District 4, Vice President Collins.
Present. Well, I'm just really on vacation right now. Yes, yay.
District 5, Ms. Ware Jackson.
Yes.
District 6, Ms. Dyson.
Yes.
District 7, Mr. Gode.
Present and voting yes.
District 8, Ms. Bernard.
Yes.
District 9, President Tatman.
Yeah.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Moving forward, little levity is always great. Moving forward with item D4 for consideration, the revised general fund budget, consideration of a request for the approval of the revised general fund budget for the 2020-21 fiscal year for East Baton Rouge Parish School System. Ms. Lopez, you want to fill us in?
Yes, ma'am.
And is this something that Mr. Chester needs to speak on as well? Or, okay. Okay, thank you.
So good evening, board members and superintendent. I'm going to present to you the revised 2020-2021 general fund budget. The purpose of the revised budget is to review and update revenue projections, to review and update staffing and expenditure projections that will provide data through the end of the fiscal year, and the proposed budget will be brought to the board in June of 2021. This chart shows the differences in actual, proposed, and revised by category. In comparison to the proposed, revenues increased approximately $4.5 million and expenditures increased approximately $4 million. Our anticipated year-end balance is $0.7 million. Projected unassigned fund balance as of 6/30/2021 is $53.9 million. This is an increase as we compare back to July of 19 of $43.5.
Ms. Lopez, if you don't mind.
Yes,
just
ma'am.
slowing down just a little bit.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Projected assigned fund balance at 6/30/2021 is $17.5 million, inclusive of inventory cost. Total projected fund balance at 6/30/2021 is $71.4 million, which is inclusive of the assigned fund balance. Fund balance as a percentage of general fund revenues is projected at 11% for 2020-2021, and this has continued to increase since July of 2019. As you know, the State Department's requirements of unacceptable is less than 5% and excellent is 7.5% or more, which we easily meet. The EBR's requirement is 15%. Some revenue highlights. The revised general fund budget compared the ad valorem taxes from proposed to revised and is an increase of $0.9 million. The sales tax for the general fund budget will increase approximately 5% or $4.6 million as compared to the proposed budget. State Minimum Foundation Program, or MFP, will reduce by approximately $1.5 million as compared to proposed. The indirect cost rate line item is projected to increase $1.9 million due to the Emergency Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund Grant Number 1 funding and the indirect cost rate of 26%. Our total expenditures, as stated before, are projected to increase by $4 million. Instructional expenditures will decrease by $0.6 million in comparison to proposed 2020-2021. Support services expenditures will increase by $0.2 million in comparison to the proposed 2021 general fund budget. And use of other funds will increase by $4.3 million in comparison to the proposed general fund budget due to charter growth and the funding of the one-time stipend to grant-funded employees. Any questions?
Board Member Bernard.
Ms. Lopez,
Yes,
as we
ma'am.
discussed previously with the ESSER grants, looks like there was an addition of some positions this year, but that large percentages of the salaries, from what I can tell, are paid out of a fund other than the general fund budget.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
some existing expenses from the general fund budget have been shifted into the ESSER fund.
Yes, ma'am.
Long-term, that does not seem sustainable.
And the good thing is it won't have to be, ma'am, because those funds were shifted for the one-time stipend. It's a one-time happening.
For the 1,000.
For the stipend, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Board Member Baloo.
Actually, I think I pressed the button by mistake, but since you called my name, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we treat this budget the same as the ESSER budget and move it without recommendation to the full board.
Okay, hold up. Okay, I had to find my spot. Okay, so Baloo, and who's second? All right, Bernard. Okay. And Board Member Godey.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Vice President, and thank you, Ms. Lopez, for the report. I'm trying to understand on the slide where you say indirect cost line item is projected to increase $1.9 million. Is that a cost or a revenue?
It's a revenue.
Okay, can we name it something else?
Sure. Well, it's as Dr. Bethley explained before, the indirect cost from grants comes back to us. So it's indirect cost, but it is a revenue.
Indirect cost reimbursement. How about that?
Awesome. Yes, that's a great idea. We'll call it that.
Okay, and so when we look at the ESSA grants and things coming in, that is the amount of that we're really benefiting for paying our overhead costs and things like that, other than
Correct.
personnel related to ESSA. But this is coming directly in. I was just curious to what that number is.
Yes,
so it's
sir.
About half or a portion of our overage comes from the ESSA grant.
Correct. And this is only from the CARES Act 1.
Okay.
This has nothing to do with 2 or 3, because as Dr. Bethley said, we have not received the funding, and we received the funding, of course, through reimbursement, so.
Okay, that helps me on that. The other thing, I recognize this is an adjustment to the budget, but I'm unfortunately asking you for some data.
Okay.
The thing I'd like to see is the, I guess it's the February count, that is the count for MFP money. I don't know which count would be the best count, but I'd like to see what was the count for 1920, and then the original proposed budget for 2021, and now the actual count for 2021. And I'm asking for that because I think this can also be an insight as we look for the 2021-2022 budget. So I'd just like to get a trend for what has been the enrollment, what did we say the enrollment would be, in doing that. And I'm not asking for, I know on the real budget, we have the blowout of each school.
Sure.
We don't need that, but I would like to see that comparison.
Just want to see the count of MFP compared to the actual payments.
Well, I want to see the count. What I'm more concerned about is how good a job have we been doing at forecasting the number of kids per school?
Sure.
Because as we get into the budget work, a lot of the comments I've gotten from principals and things is that principals with very popular schools say they get projected with a lower number, then they end up letting teachers go. Then a week into school, they're scrambling to get teachers back in and things like that. So that's an area I'm going to be giving a lot more scrutiny to this year in the budget. So I'd like to have a little background to understand that. And I realize this is a very unusual year with the virtual versus
this was an odd
I
odd
recognize
year
it.
for everything.
Yeah, I know. So I recognize it is,
Sure.
but it's also to me a key to leading into what next year's budget is going to look like.
Absolutely.
So if you could do that, I would greatly appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
And then, seeing no one else, I'll go ahead and just ask, I'm trying to, can you give a little bit more detail on the use of other funds as it relates to the one-time stipend to grant-funded employees?
Sure. So what we're going to do with the stipend is, as you know, we have employees that are funded through grants. Child nutrition is funded through a grant, Title I employees. And so in order to do it properly and cleanly, the grant will pay the stipend, and then we will reimburse the grant through the general fund, because the general fund is allowed to pay the grants, or pay the stipend to the grants. And it makes it a one clean entry so that's easily traceable. We know exactly what we did.
And then, for the sake of my tired and on vacation mind, just help me understand. I think I'm almost there.
Okay.
But, so, okay, so use child nutrition's grant for an example and tell me the logistical steps.
So child nutrition will pay the stipend to their employees as they're supposed to, and then general fund will reimburse child nutrition for that dollar amount.
Use of other funds will increase. And so the act of doing that on paper makes it look like
They
the
know
other
exactly what
funds
we're
are
doing.
increasing.
Exactly.
Okay, I was right there. I was
Yeah,
right there.
you got it.
Board Member Darius. I'm sorry, Board Member Lannis. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We all a little sleepy tonight. So just a few things. One, I wanted to say something on the record, because we hear about this a lot, about students with disabilities. And anybody that's looking at the revised budget, there has been an increase going into repairs and maintenance at specific schools, but I just wanted to read it in for the record. An increase of approximately 1.2 million is included in repairs and maintenance items included in this line item are the Americans with Disabilities Act repairs required by the Louisiana Department of Education to be completed during the current fiscal year. I just think that's a really big thing. Oftentimes, we don't hear enough about what's happening inside of our schools as it regards students with disabilities or students that may have some level of disadvantage. So I just think that's a really good thing. The next thing that I wanted to ask. Well, I won't even ask a question about it. I just wanted to just bring it up as a point. I was just curious about the transportation department because I see that it decreased by 24 positions, and maybe that was a needed move. I don't know, but I just wanted to just bring it up as a point because I was just curious. I know that we have had some emails about transportation, so it was just something that popped up in mind. But I think it looks good. Thank you, guys. This is great. Thank you, Ms. Lopez.
Thank you.
Seeing no other board questions or comments, requests to speak, how about that? Seeing no other board requests to speak, is there any public comment? Seeing no public comment, back to the board. Seeing no other board requests to speak, Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
Moving forward with item D5, Memorandum of Understanding, a consideration of a request for the approval of a Memorandum of Understanding between EBR Parish School System and Baton Rouge Community College to provide field experience placement for BRCC students. Ms. Donald, oh, okay, yes, thank you. First by Board Member Goday and seconded by Board Member Baloo. Did any, can we get a quick, just, what we doing?
Good evening again, Vice President Collins, President Tatman, board members, the public, as well as Dr. Narcisse. We're really excited to share with you, we annually have MOUs with universities and colleges to try to attract teachers. The grant that you all approved last month that we were awarded from the American Association for Employment and Education helps us to facilitate this partnership that we have with Baton Rouge Community College to provide assistance with their field experience programs. This is also connected to the other grant that we received from the Louisiana Department of Education that we're partnering with Bel Air High School to push students through into college as our Educators Rise and Connect to Teach program. And so we are working with them to allow their students to do field experiences within our schools as a mechanism to recruit future teachers and keep them excited about this great profession. One of the most important things is reaching out early to young people to tell them how wonderful teaching is and how powerful that the work that we do every day as educators. And so this is a partnership that we have. We're going to allow their students to come into our schools and do their field experiences, which is some small group instruction, observations, and teaching. And some of those students who may decide that they want to become teachers will go on to either Southern University or LSU or one of our four-year universities in this area, or they may decide that they really just want to be a paraprofessional, and this will allow them to be highly qualified as a paraprofessional and work in our school system.
Okay, thank you, because I appreciate that explanation, because I saw field experience, but I didn't know if it was, and I looked at one backup document, and I didn't look at the other one that said it was teachers, so thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
That's good. I appreciate that. Let me make sure no one else has any. All right. Seeing no other board comment or questions. Any public comment? Seeing no public comment. Coming back to the board, seeing no request to speak from the board. Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
Thank you. Moving forward with the next agenda item, D6, professional services contracts for exceptional student services. A consideration of a request for the approval to renew the following professional services contracts between the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board and the following. A New Beginning Personal Care LLC in the amount of $90,000 to provide LPN nursing services. Pediatric Services of America LLC, doing business as Avena Healthcare in the amount of $483,000, again to provide LPN services. Chase Healthcare in the amount of $87,000 to provide LPN services. Turner LLC in the amount of $621,000 to provide LPN nursing services. Adaptive Solutions and Sherry Hollingsworth in the amount of $20,000 to provide assistive technology services. Audio Optical Systems of Austin in the amount of $47,892 to provide comprehensive text-to-speech integrated literacy solutions. Dr. Kashanda L. Williams, Sundry Behavioral Services in the amount of $60,000 to provide applied behavior analysis services. And Lighthouse, the Lighthouse of the Blind in New Orleans in the amount of $20,000 to provide orientation and mobility services. Funding source IDEA Part B. First from Board Member Bernard and seconded from Board Member Goday. Board Member Howard.
Thank you, Vice President Collins. I just wanted to, we've asked for this as a board before when we are approving these professional services contracts. If we can create some kind of tracking system to, again, talk about like the contracts that we are approving and then the outcomes and impacts that they have on the district, I think that would be helpful as we continue to approve more professional service contracts. So whoever realm that falls in, just want to put that out there. Thank you.
Board Member Bernard.
I just wanted to point out that in the contract, it says Lighthouse for the Blind, Lighthouse for the Blind, and in the motion, in the item, it says Lighthouse of the Blind, so it needs to be corrected to read Lighthouse for the Blind. That's the organization's name. It's just one little substitution. Thanks.
Board Member Lannis.
Yes, I just, thank you, Madam Vice President, by the way. I think my sentiments are the same as Board Member Howard's. I know we talked about that a few meetings back about getting all of the contracts so we can start evaluating who's receiving contracts versus also how they're being awarded. So do we have a timetable on that by any chance?
Oh, that's a good question.
That was an open question.
That was the fair share is what you're referring to, right?
Yes, but we also made like a general request for all contracts.
Okay.
But it was in reference to fair share, yes, ma'am.
It came up during fair share.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was a couple of questions. We gotta eat. I'm sorry, I'm gonna let you answer.
That's okay.
the question. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm not up, so ask him.
We're just asking, is there a timetable to receive a list of all contracts that we are awarding throughout the system? That's all.
We can provide that to you in the coming days.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board Member Dyson.
Yes, just out of an abundance of caution, I'm going to recuse myself from this vote. Thank you.
Thank you. General Counsel Shamlin.
To address Ms. Lance's question, I believe Mr. John Smith is here. He is the Fair Share Coordinator. He is working on that list. I'll check with him tomorrow, Dr. Narcisse, and see kind of where it is and then give you an update.
Thank you. And I know it's kind of time, I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to talk, but I know it's time consuming to put that whole thing together, so I was just asking out of general curiosity.
Yeah, also the Fair Share Coordinator will do an update, early update at the next COW, but we'll get you the information before then.
Okay, Board Member Gode.
Yes, thank you. Is Ms. Chapman here? Okay. I guess, I really don't have a problem with any of these, but I recognize that there's lots of complexities and different things in here. But I was just curious as to why some of the contracts are basically at $45,000 per student. Other contracts are at $69,000 per student. And then another contract is at $87,000 per student. And, there's probably a very good explanation for that. I understand it, but, when we get these lump contracts for $621,000, I would just like to know a little bit about how these contracts were given and how they were bid, and things like that, because I know when we went out for the occupational and physical therapist contracts, we had a bidding round and things like that. So just out of, I guess, fiduciary responsibility, could we get some insight on how these contracts are awarded and how the amounts are set?
Sure, we can look into that. And you're right, the complex is probably due to the service and needs of the kids according to their medical plans and IEP.
I understand, but there's got to be some method as to how we do it and how we pick these particular
vendors,
suppliers and vendors.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Board President Tatman.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. In that same theme, I think, and I don't want to put words in people's mouth, but I think what we're looking at in contracts is a little bit of what Mr. Gode said, which is our fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the contracts that we're awarding, whether they're fair share or not, that they're performing at a high level. And I can remember when I first came on the board, we did a review of contracts when we came in, and we were looking at contracts where deliverables weren't even being made, and so that's what we're looking at. I mean, we're sitting here, I don't even know how many, I didn't count them, how many contracts are on here. We ought to make sure that whoever we're contracting with is performing well for the district, and we can hold them accountable like everyone else holds us accountable. And I think that's what they're asking for. So I don't know that we're looking for it like tomorrow or the next day, but maybe it's some sort of a spreadsheet or a flow sheet so that we can, and then I don't know how you build a structure around that, but some sort of evaluation of those contracts and how we think they're performing so that we're getting value, so that our students and families are getting value out of the dollars that we're spending. Is that a little clearer, a little more clear? Is that closer to what you guys were talking about, Mr. Lannis and Mr. Howard? Okay, yeah.
I would just add to that, particularly when it's a renewal of a prior contract,
Agreed.
that we ought to get some kind of statement saying how they performed on the prior contract.
You bet. Agreed. Thank you, Madam Vice President.
Thank you, Board Member Bernard.
It's my opinion that all contracts should have the evaluation, the means of evaluation embedded in the contract. So I would like for us to go through and check to see how we're evaluating what the inputs, outputs, and outcomes are for each. In some cases, you may not be able to measure an outcome, but you can certainly measure the outputs. But I would like to see that embedded in, I'm not asking to see that. I'm just saying that administratively it's appropriate. So, thanks.
And then that would make, and seeing nobody else, I will add, that would make it easier to, when it's time for renewal, well, what was the evaluation on the review the checkbox or what have you. All right, any public comment? Seeing no public comment, back to the board. Seeing no board questions or comments, Madam Secretary.
Please vote. The motion carries.
Oh, I'm sorry. Moving forward, item D7, professional services contracts, federal, ESSER. Consideration of a request for the approval of the okay. I should ask my question before, because I need clarity on what I'm saying we want to say we considering. Is this completely separate from the other, or is it completely separate from the overall 30 million and 28 million that we already discussed? I'm struggling with understanding that.
Yeah, I'll speak to that. I believe these contracts are part of the 38 million, of the 30 million. However, we received guidance from DOE, our state DOE, that boards can begin to obligate funding and also approve initiatives for ESSER without an approved budget. So you've actually done that already. One example is with the Castle contract last month. The way to think about this is that if you are approving the contract tonight, the contract itself still needs a funding source. And the funding source would be approved when you finally approve the ESSER budget. So it's almost like a conditional thing. You approve the contract, but until the budget,
condition that,
right, until the funding source is approved, the contract can't go forward. Does that help?
So one is the budget and one is a specific line item from the budget.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay, consideration of a request for the approval of the professional services contracts between EBR Parish School System and the following: Insight Education Group in the amount of $189,750 to align strategies and provide embedded support to facilitate educator growth and positively impact student growth. The new teacher project in the amount of $16,211 to provide professional development to support the building knowledge, skills, and mindsets around strong literacy and instruction. TNTP, which is short for the new teacher project, in the amount of $249,611 to provide professional development to support the building knowledge, skills, and mindsets around strong literacy and instruction. And Rethink in the amount of $175,000 to provide for social emotional learning and mental health support and professional development. And can I get a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go to the screen. Ms. Bernard, Board Member Bernard.
I have some questions about this.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Well, I wanted to make a substitute motion based on my questions, or go ahead. I'll make
Since he was going for the motion. Okay. All right. And second? Where Jackson had her hand up. No problem. Okay. Board Member Bernard, I apologize for any confusion.
Okay, so I am looking at B and C, new teacher project, in the amount of $16,211 to provide professional development to support the building knowledge, skills, and mindsets around strong literacy and instruction. And the second, the C item, the next item, looks like it's the same thing but a different amount. I guess I don't understand why there are two different contracts for that. The dates are June 22nd, 2021 through June 20th. Oh, I see that. Okay. No, June 22nd through, is that a professional development contract?
Yes, ma'am. One
Okay.
is a two-day training.
Okay, I see that.
And the
Thank you.
other amount is for the entire school year.
Okay, and it also doesn't say what the funding source is behind B. Is it ESSER 3 also?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that need to be added to? Okay, well, they're all the same, but each of them says what the funding source is, except for that one. Okay. I just, because this is part of the ESSER funds and we are still, since we placed the ESSER budgets as a separate item, standalone, I would like to send this as a standalone item also, and just send it without recommendations. So that's That's my desire. Would you accept that as a friendly, Mr. Gode?
Sure.
Okay, great, thanks.
Oh, thank you, Board Member Lannis. All right, so we do have, oh no, Ware Jackson, it was Ware Jackson. Thank you. Thank you, Board Member Ware Jackson and Gode. Board Member Dyson.
So as we keep moving these items to the board without recommendation, I'm just wanting to make sure we have real clarity and that the board members that have questions follow up with our superintendent to make sure that their questions are all answered during this 2-week time period, because I don't want to get here and not have some of the information that we need at that point. So I just want to make sure that the follow-up is done so we can move forward at the board meeting. Thank you.
Board President Tatman.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. The last meeting, I think we pulled half of the consent agenda items, so it's really not a big deal, right? So anybody can pull the consent agenda items. Personally, as your president, I would rather you do them without recommendation, so we can just scoot through the consent agenda and then get down to the real business. I agree with what Ms. Dyson said, but it's no use to have a consent agenda if we're going to pull half the items off of it. So I just, it's really not that big of a deal, but just something to think about moving forward. I think we pulled at least half of them last time. So thank you, Madam Vice President.
All right, and Board Member Bernard.
Some of the items that I've asked for previously, and they weren't provided today, Ms. Dyson. And also, if we really want to be efficient with our time, we could be more concise and listen more and speak less.
Okay, seeing no other board questions or comments, any public comment? Seeing no public comment, back to the board. Seeing no other board comments or questions, Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
Thank you. Moving forward with item D8, professional services contracts, real grant, consideration of a request for the approval of the professional services contracts between East Baton Rouge Parish School System and the following: Smarty Pants LLC in the amount of $108,925 to provide tutoring support. Funding source, real-time early access to literacy, the real grant. And Canopy Ed in the amount of $108,925 to provide tutoring support, same funding source. Can I get a motion? Board Member Ware Jackson, and a second. Board Member is that you, Board Member Dyson? Okay, yes, ma'am. And Board Member Dyson. Board President Tatman.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Where are these services going to be delivered? Tutoring services, is it, am I missing something? Just want to get an idea of, can somebody answer that question? Good evening.
These funds are being allocated to our CIR schools, allowing, I think, about 48 or so students to receive additional tutoring services. The principal is working with the vendor to identify the students that would be needed, and that's for both grants.
Great, thank you. That's
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Vice President.
All right. Seeing no other board comment or question, any public? Oh, I'm sorry, Board Member Gode.
Yes, just a quick question for Ms. Rutledge. On these, when I look at this, this is a 1 month. Ms. Rutledge. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's about 480. But when I look at that, that's about $500 per student for a month of tutoring. Is that is that a typical kind of rate?
The rate of pay is typical, yes.
Okay.
So it's $33, I think, per kid. And that is not, if I understand this correctly, that is not just, the amount there is not just for our students. We are using some of the funds for, we're using some of the funds for our non-public schools. Our non-public schools as well. So that is just the total amount that they can pull from. It's $33 an hour, but direct services will be $25 an hour, and that's how much we allocate for tutoring services.
Okay, so the actual payment of this is going to be on a per hour basis.
It is.
So you may or may not spend all of the $108,000.
Correct.
Okay. And is that per hour per student?
Per hour per student.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other board comment, any public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I look a mess today, but if y'all read public comments, I could have done this from my bed. Don't roll your eyes at me, Dawn. Okay. I think this is a good idea, a good program. We used to have a program for K through 2 grades with extra tutoring, and our literacy rates were much, much higher. So I like the idea of the program. I don't like the idea that it is only 474 students when we have how many children in that demographic, because this is pre-K through 3. I don't know that number, but we need to do more of them. Now, I know that this is a grant, but I feel like this would be an awesome way to use some of that ESSER or CARES Act money to supplement, and let's get all of our pre-K kids or through 3rd grade whose parents are interested, not just the ones who identify or whatever, but let's get them all in there. And I'm a hard, big, absolute heck no on the non-public ed kids. Again, if you want the benefits of going to a public education system, come to EBR, because we are a wonderful public education system. Otherwise, you enjoy the benefits that you don't get by choosing those charters and the private schools that you chose. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing none. And seeing no board comment, I'll just ask Dr. Rutledge later on if there was another situation. Do you happen to know in terms of the non-public dollars? Do you happen to know in terms of the non-public dollars?
Dr.
Yeah, Ms.
Rutledge.
Bethley.
Okay.
The non-public dollars, is that another situation where, no, because it's a grant, it's a what? Just a regular grant, right? It's not a federal, et cetera.
That is a federal grant.
Oh, this
and-
is federal?
Yes, ma'am. And there are.
So then there's a requirement that we must go ahead and.
Yes, ma'am. And
Okay,
our
so it
charter
is
schools
like-
as well.
Okay, okay. Well, that answers, is not an option. All righty. Board Member Lannis. Okay. Seeing no other comment from the board, Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving forward with item D9, the EBR Virtual School Grade Level Expansion. For consideration of a request for the approval of the expansion of the East Baton Rouge Virtual Academy to provide for grades pre-K through 12. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead with your presentation.
Good evening again.
Oh, wait,
Board
wait, I'm sorry. Can I get a motion? I saw Board Member Ballou and Howard. And now, yes, ma'am, thank you so much.
Good evening again, Board President Tatman, Vice President Collins, board members, and Dr. Narcisse. I'm Sharon Williams, your Chief of Schools, bringing before you tonight consideration to expand our EBR Virtual Academy. So I'll give you some background regarding virtual instruction this year, and then also a little bit of background regarding the landscape for virtual instruction in our state and in our parish. So this year, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, teachers are teaching virtually, in person, a little bit of both at the same time in many of our schools. We also established an EBR Virtual Academy in 2016 that serves grades 9 through 12. That program has been in existence since then with an enrollment of about 30 students and hasn't moved much. As you know, with the advent of the pandemic this year, we had to expand our virtual options for students and for teachers. And we currently have approximately 12,400 students who are still receiving virtual instruction daily. There are 3 components to that virtual instruction, and many hands go into this work, including the work of the academics department and curriculum and instruction, the human resources department, and the Department of School Leadership. So some of our students, again, are full-time virtual students. Teachers are teaching part of their class in a virtual manner, and part of their class is in person. We also have students who are full-time virtual students. Those students may be assisted by teachers who are teaching just virtually, including teachers within the proximity learning umbrella. And so that total right now is about 12,000 students, as I mentioned. Those students are enrolled all over the school district. Most of our schools, if not all, have some element of virtual learning going on this school year. So what options do families have in a virtual environment? And I want to bring this to your attention to show the need for virtual learning throughout our parish and state. So there are 3 main vehicles through which families can choose virtual instruction. That includes 2 Type 2 charter schools and 1 Southern University laboratory school. And you can see they have well over 6,000 students enrolled in those choices for families. So why are we expanding the virtual program? 1, we know that there will be a continued need with the continuation of the COVID-19 pandemic. We also know that we have improved greatly our delivery of instruction in a virtual manner, and this is an option that many families chose for a myriad of reasons, including health concerns of students. Also, some students prefer learning in a virtual environment and thrive in that environment. And again, we want to be able to provide an option for all students. We're proposing that we expand our program from a 9-12 program to a pre-K through 12th grade school. So we want to let you know who's involved in planning. As you know, a district-wide survey went out yesterday evening. That survey was inclusive of 5 languages. We sent the survey out in Spanish, Vietnamese, Arabic, and one other, I'll have to go back to my notes here, Mandarin. We have received to date, before the internet went out this afternoon, about 1,054 returns. I checked it maybe 30 minutes ago when the internet came back up, and we had about 50 more respondents. We also have had a student focus group and sent a survey out to our students who are learning both virtually and in person. At our teacher advisory, we asked those teachers to respond to a survey. We have about 81 respondents from the teacher group. We also polled our school leaders in the roundtables yesterday and got feedback from the principals as well. We also want to let you know that this is a full court press in terms of departments working on this expansion, and that includes everyone from child nutrition to our special education, our ESS department, our academics department, of course, and also working with CTEC, our gifted and talented program managers, and also the magnet programs. So we want to ensure that as we're expanding our virtual option for instruction, that we ensure equity and access across all student groups. We want to ensure that students with disabilities are afforded the opportunity to enroll and fully participate in a virtual environment. We also will have programming for our gifted and talented students who their families choose a virtual option. Students enrolled in magnet programs will have an option within the virtual program, and student athletes will have an opportunity to, this is a new one, Ms. Williamson, participate in esports through our virtual instruction option. So we want to show you a little bit of the data that's coming back from our student groups, and that includes how you currently receive instruction, and this is information from our students. So approximately 67 of the respondents responded that they receive virtual instruction, and about 33% responded that they're in face-to-face instruction. And what did our students say? So students responded to some of the positive ways, attributes of virtual instruction, including I can work at my own pace, I don't have to be on camera if I don't want to, and the flexibility of virtual learning. Some of the challenges, just as many of us experienced when we were locked down, being away from their peers and teachers was a hot topic for students. What did families say? So based on the information we have this afternoon regarding families, about 31%, a third of parents responding, said they want their children to participate in a virtual environment. About 30% want to return their children to face-to-face learning. And about 21% are still undecided and need more information about health concerns, about the program of the virtual instruction program before they make a decision. Families also responded about a lot of themes, and these are direct quotes from the survey, but they are picked out because many parents responded in the same manner, and these are some of the themes. So a lot of concern from parents or interest in a magnet program being within the virtual environment. Also many health concerns still from parents, not only for their students, but other family members at home and going back to school. And also consideration for higher level academic classes, being sure that we can offer those in a virtual environment. So we asked teachers about how they're teaching. And as you can see, about 80% of our teachers responding from the Teacher Advisory Council responded that they're doing both. That means they have a heavy load regarding serving students who are face-to-face with them in person, and also teaching virtually at some point during the day. What did teachers say? Teachers were concerned with technology. So if you think about teaching in a virtual manner, they're going to need more and not less. So that means perhaps adding screens, adding additional devices, microphones, headphones, etc., so that they can monitor their class, the content, and the chat box while they're teaching. They're also concerned about doing both, so teaching virtually and in person at the same time. Middle school teachers, again, concerned about the type of devices that students have. And if we are going to have a full-time virtual instruction academy, concerns about students upgrading from a Chromebook to more of a laptop so that they can have a more powerful device at their hands. And then elementary teachers, again, the switching of students from face-to-face and virtual and back and forth is just too much for elementary age students. So at this point, we are in the very draft stage. We're still seeking input from all of our groups to make decisions. However, the district team is continuing their planning process and collaborating at least once or twice a week to get firm plans in place. The planning process will continue until the board meeting on the 20th, where we'll present a final framework for the virtual academy. And at that point, we will be recruiting and placing teachers, recruiting a principal for the virtual academy, and then also begin to register students for the program. And that's the conclusion of the presentation.
Board President Tatman.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I'm all about being in this space, so I'm pretty excited about this. I have a couple of questions. Is this an either or? So if a family chooses to go virtual, then that's it. They're virtual. They don't have any affiliation with, and I'm going to say something dumb like homeschool or what have you. This is an either or situation?
That is correct. They will enroll in the EBR Virtual Academy.
So some of my concerns actually, and I'm not, I just want to share some thoughts. A lot of families are, thinking about if a vaccine is approved for kids and they start the year and then 2 months in a vaccine is approved and then they're vaccinated and they want to be in their regular school. They wouldn't have that opportunity, would they?
Yes.
They
So
would.
just as students move from school to school for a variety of reasons,
Okay.
What we're going to do is be very specific about how students transfer in and out of the virtual academy. And we're looking for at least a 9-week commitment from families at the elementary and middle school level, and at least a semester commitment from high schoolers so that we can make sure that they're on track with their Carnegie
Okay.
units.
It makes me feel a lot more comfortable. Thank you, Dr. Williams. Thank you, Madam Vice President.
Board Member Bernard.
Dr. Williams, thank you for the presentation. I'm grateful for it. On slide number 3, you have about 5,000, almost 6,000 students who are attending virtual schools. Are all of those students within our district? Because I know that I think some of these schools serve children from other districts. That's not the total enrollment at those schools, right? These are just our kids that are at those schools.
No, these are the total enrollments for those schools.
Okay, so they're type 2s, 2 of them are, and Southern Lab is a private school. Those schools can accept students from across the parish line, so some of those students may be from other places.
I will double check my math on those. Yes.
I just wasn't sure, so I was wondering if we had that many students in those 3 schools. And then we got about 1,100 returns. It's just been 24 hours or so, but we have 12,000 students in virtual schools, so how are we going to get some more?
We
Any
will
ideas?
continue to ask principals to reach out on their social media sites, their direct contacts with families, and I'll work with the communications team to push those surveys out again to get a more return within the next several
And then
days.
I had a lot of people contacted me and asked me questions about if they were enrolled in a magnet school, but they chose to have their students at home next year, will they be giving up their magnet seat?
Yes. When you enroll in the EBR Virtual Academy, yes, you are enrolling in a different school, and you will be giving up that magnet seat. We are going to think about how to put some strategy in place regarding a return to a magnet program. If those students opt out of the virtual academy and want to go back to their school. But by enrolling in a different school, and that the school will be a standalone, they are relinquishing their magnet seat.
Sure, so we would probably fill their seat. Now, let's say that they've been in the magnet school of the virtual academy for a few years, and they get to the end of 6th grade, and they've applied in the magnet cycle to go to McKinley Middle. I'm sorry, the end of 5th grade, and they're applying to go to McKinley Middle. And are we going to have magnet progression? Are they going to have some type of priority? Because right now we have magnet progression in our magnet schools. And so if you're leaving a middle school like McKinley or Sherwood or Mayfair or another magnet program in the district, you have first dibs on the magnet high schools before people who are not enrolled in a magnet program or who are not enrolled in another school system, let's say, and it seems fair and right that our students should have that, but would they have that same priority if they were coming out of the virtual school, going to high school? Let's say they want to have a high school experience or a middle school experience, something like that.
All of the fine details haven't been worked out yet, but our magnet program director is on the team.
Great.
That's helping us hash all of that out.
Okay, well, she probably gave you that same input then. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yes.
Board Member Ware Jackson.
Thank you, Vice President Collins. I appreciate the questions from my colleagues around the magnet schools and around the time frame for being able to return if they choose to. Another question that has come to my attention is around the students, just the desire to graduate from the school that they came from, even though they are enrolled in the EBR Virtual Academy. There's a lot of school pride here, and in particular, when they're looking at graduations, they want to know, what's going to be on my graduation, what's going to be on my diploma. Kids, especially in magnet programs, there are some that are homebound because of health issues, and they're in the virtual program and doing very well, in the magnet program. But when it comes to graduation, we're considering, or we're very concerned about what's going to be on the diploma. And so we want to keep that in mind as we're walking through all of the details in this. Keep in mind the school pride that kids and, of course, parents have when it comes to certain schools. And I say certain schools, but it's like that at every school. We want to see our school name on the diploma. So let's keep that in mind as we work through these challenges.
Yes.
Thank you.
Board Member Lannis.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I think my concerns were shadowing Board Member Ware Jackson's concerns. What happens if a student opts to get into the virtual academy and they want to go back to their original school? Would they lose their seat? That's been some concerns that some parents have had. I don't know if there's been really much communication around it, but that would be a really good question to get answered. Thank you.
Board Member Gode.
Yeah, a couple of comments. Thank you, Madam Vice President. One, I'd like to thank you, Ms. Williams, and the staff for giving us a really good presentation and taking the time to really try to understand the comments from the community and our staff and parents and all the other stakeholders in this. I think you're going about this in a very responsible manner, and thank you very much for the time and effort you're putting into that. Like my other colleagues here on the board, I'm very encouraged by, this is something we need to do and get on with that. I guess my only other comment, and I'm almost reluctant to say this, but I feel like I have to. You know, we get a lot of comments from the kids, from the parents of children who are in magnet schools. But for the magnet schools that have waiting list, there are the parents of those children who are on the waiting list that are waiting to get into magnet schools. And, you know, so I want to be fair in thinking about all this, and I don't have the answer to this. I'm not Solomon, but, you know, is it fair to keep an empty seat, an empty in-person seat, because someone's in the virtual school, as opposed to letting that seat be filled by someone who wants to go to school in a magnet school and who is on a waiting list? So I just want to be careful how we think through this, because there are two sides to that coin. There's only one in-person seat, and do you hold it empty, or do you give it to a person on a waiting list? So I'm not Solomon. I don't have the answer to that, but it's just not a one-sided coin. I just want to make sure that that thought is out there. And you know, I hope we can find a way to find a fair way to go about doing that. I don't have that answer, but I just wanted to point that out. Thank you very much.
Board Member Howard.
Thank you, Vice President Collins. And I just want to resonate with what my colleague just said. We already have a lot of issues right now with magnet school enrollment and who's allowed and allocated an opportunity to participate in our magnet school programs. And the bottom line is, the truth of the matter is that the magnet schools are the best options that we have as a district. And so we need to be very careful about like how we adhere to what has historically been present when we talk about enrollment into our magnet programs. And then I just wanted to lift up the practicality of the matter of giving folks options to opt in, opt out, opt in, opt out. We have to be firm on one way or the other. Teachers have complained all semester about students who are virtual one day, come back in person the next day, virtual 2 days, then they decide they don't want to go to school. Like, it becomes a lot. And so, like, thinking about, as we roll out the fine details, the practicality of what it means to have options. Like, I agree we need to give parents options, but we also need to be practical in theory of like how we actually do this on a day-to-day basis inside of a school. So I just want to lift that up. I appreciate the work as well. I do believe that it's necessary. I graduated from Southern Lab, and one of the best things that our alumni talk about is this virtual option to give people from across the state an opportunity to attend our school. So I think that it's a great idea, and I look to help and support as we roll out this in the future.
Seeing no other board members, I just had a quick question. Well, and that whole magnet enrollment piece is a hard one, because I even thought about, well, is it possible to do a short-term virtual option similar to our alternative education placement with some of the sites, right? That some of the sites, the alternative ed school is not their permanent home school. And so is that an option? Like, if a parent's only concern is waiting in line, waiting for the vaccine, right? And we know we get some update between now and then that the vaccine for that age group will be ready by the fall. Well, then if they commit to the virtual for a 9 or 2 9-week periods in this one year of transition, is that a reasonable accommodation for those very competitive magnet seats? And then maybe, you know, with the assumption that everybody who wants a vaccine you will have availability for it by the end of this school year, then, okay, next school year, look, you got to choose one or the other. And, you know, we gave a transition period. I mean, you know, I don't know, because it's, because the equity piece is important. I think there are some details about the equity piece that we need to be educated on as well, but the equity piece, period, is important. And so then, but at the same time, if a child is in 5th grade and all they waiting on is a vaccine availability because the child is high risk or a family member is high risk or what have you, and they need to keep the home protected, is that a reasonable accommodation with this 1 year? I'll just informally call it a pandemic transition year, you know? So I'm just throwing that thought out. That's a hard, that one is a real hard one. And then I do have this one question, and while I'm looking for what page I wrote it on, I do want to say thank you very much for the very nice presentation. It's very informative, answered a lot of questions that we would have otherwise just been asking, taking turns to ask. So thank you. Of the current 12,000 that we have enrolled, I know I've heard, especially early on during the pandemic, problems with tardiness and or attendance when some folks choose the virtual options. Do you have a comparison on the attendance and tardy rates of the virtual babies in comparison to their in-person cohorts? Or is that something you can get? I mean, I know we probably have at the very least been keeping up with truancy rates in comparison to the two. What is that looking like currently?
I do not have that information at my fingertips, but we will provide that to all members of the board.
Okay, thank you. And you said, because I did have to step out to the restroom, you said some of the survey results were showing how do you currently receive. What was it? Okay. I want my 31% want the child to still, so we still have a large percentage that want to keep virtual at the moment.
And that's a representative of the respondents.
1,400. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to recommend. Thank you for saying that. Especially with us having 100% virtual at one time, I'm sure we are doing a better job of having current emails for parents, and maybe just a straight email blast to parents based on that contact email of the parent, and that would help us make sure that we don't have folks. And I know y'all, I know y'all didn't intend this, and it's probably not even as big an issue as I'm gonna mention, but that would also help ensure that it's our parents answering our survey. But then, you know, again, them getting something directly from EBR in their email box might help with the respondents. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Board Member Howard? No. Okay, thank you. All right, seeing no other board comments, any public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Robin Clark. I'm a virtual pre-K teacher here in East Baton Rouge Parish, and I would like to solicit your support for the virtual program being extended to pre-K through 8th grade. And some of my reasons are: number one, I've dealt with more than 30 children in my one classroom due to turnover. Students coming into virtual, going out of virtual, but I will tell you that every child who came to my classroom was served. And I partner during this kind of hybrid transitional year. I partner with the teachers who actually are in the homeschool. So there is a connection between me and those teachers, and many schools and many teachers. So it's not just my school, but it's my school, several other schools, and several teachers at other schools. And those children come in and are served, and if their family household situation changes, then they go back to face-to-face. There are transportation issues. Many of my parents have work stability issues that allow them to maybe have their children at home because grandparents keep them during the work week, and then they're home with their parents during the evening hours. So those are things. We in East Baton Rouge Parish provide a kaleidoscope of services to our students, and I think it'd only be fair that we provide this as well. I'm certainly able, willing, put my feet to the fire and put my abilities out there. I would like to also mention that there is no vaccine on the horizon for children who are in the pre-K through 5th grade area, band, if you will. And so those parents who are hesitant may want to still, hold their children back in a virtual setting for their safety as well as the family members in their household. So please continue. I will also say that contacting those parents virtually, thank you to whoever sent out the text message. And I would also like to say that if you contact all of the virtual teachers, we will put that on our Google Classroom. We'll put it on Class Dojo, as we probably already have. So it would be my pleasure for you to offer this opportunity with your vote. I would appreciate you supporting this. I will certainly do my part in doing what I do for children every day. And I will guarantee that the children that I serve will be on level and or above. My students right now who are in pre-K are reading on the kindergarten level very easily. We hope to get to book number 30 in kindergarten. So that's a shout out to the parental support. And I will tell you this, the parents who are in my class have amazing parental engagement and involvement. So please do vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. There's a lot of things that I want to say about this. The plan for our virtual academy, as it was explained to me earlier this year before Ms. Brown's departure, was amazing. I was so excited about it. It was going to give us the ability to really pull in and take kids back from the charters. And a kid that wanted to or was able to do geometry at Park Forest could stay at their community school and through the virtual academy could take geometry and not have to go to a magnet program to do so. And different things like that. It was going to make us just really more viable, and I was really excited about that. So I like the aspect of the virtual academy. I want to say that. But the all or nothing I have issue with. The first thing I have a question about is, will there be room for all of our kids to go back to brick and mortar? McKinley High School is 93% virtual. Will we have room? I can forward this to you. 950 of their kids as of Monday were virtual. Scotlandville High is 61% virtual. Liberty High School, 46%. I know Sherwood's number is still very, very high. Yes, teaching the in-person kids and the virtual kids is exhausting. Dr. Narcisse, you nailed it at Board Member Bernard's town hall where you said what was exhausting was doing it through the computer. Yeah, you're right. It really, really is. That is what is very exhausting about it. But if we do this all or nothing thing, what are we gonna do when they're quarantined next year? Because right now it's seamless. We send them home and then they log on to the Google Meet. They don't miss a beat. They don't miss a lesson. They don't miss an assignment. They're still on, they're just on with my virtual kids instead of in the classroom. And it's constant, and it's just an ever-moving pool that the office knows about that we don't know about. I will say this, you guys were questioning the magnet situation. If they go in the back and forth for magnet, I can answer this. Miss Noel is gonna kill me. I hope she's not watching. They'll be left behind. They will. I'm just gonna be honest with you. They'll be left behind because the teachers are not gonna be doing what we're doing at the magnet school. We do not use the same resources that the rest of the schools do in the parish. If we did, we would not be magnet. I teach advanced English and literature, not everyday English and literature.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing no other public comment, back to the board. Board Member Bernard.
I have a couple of other questions. Will there be a short-term option at their home school? For example, and Dr. Narcisse and I talked about this on the phone or on Teams this morning, that each school would have, if a student has to be quarantined for some reason, obviously they would have to go home, but we wouldn't send them to the virtual school. They would be able to return to their school. So will each school still be able to accommodate them? And then a suggestion, and I don't know how feasible this is or how it works in the budget, but one of the schools that I have heard about actually has a teacher that is a virtual teacher. And the teachers provide the lesson plans to that teacher, and that teacher coordinates with the students and the families in the homes and handles all of the virtual students for that particular school. So is that something that could work for our schools so that students don't have to leave and go to the virtual school? I think some people are just going to choose virtual 100%, but a lot of the people who are home right now, the high school students are going to come back next year, and a lot of the middle school students are going to come back next year. We don't see it as much in elementary because they can't stay home by themselves. But I think next year we're not going to have 12,000 virtual students. I just don't think we will. I think we might have 500 to 1,200 is my guess. But maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but thank you.
We're still under state orders for, because of the pandemic, and so that planning will be addressed in this committee at the central office, because we know there will be situations where students will have to quarantine, teachers will have to quarantine. Until the pandemic is over, we will have contingency plans for that.
Okay, and then is there any possibility of some schools having a teacher that is just virtual to handle those temporary situations for the whole school? Will some schools be able to do that? Or Dr. Narcisse, that's really kind of a separate question, isn't it?
Yeah, let us look into the model. I think, as we spoke this morning, Ms. Board Member Bernard, we know there'll be some extenuating circumstances, so we'll kind of review those case by case. But we're hopeful to have some consistency, so you know, we can be able to better support kids going through with families.
I have some families and some friends actually who work in settings that are medical settings, and so they're constantly being exposed, and then sometimes they contract COVID, and then their children have to stay home for the quarantine period, and you know, we're all aware of those situations. So I just want us to still continue to be as flexible as we can with people because they want to participate. Thank you.
Seeing no other questions from the board, that's it. Just one last little thought that just popped in my mind regarding this is, and I feel like we are all on the same page with this, and this is part of making that happen, but part of us making sure that we are competitive in this competitive education arena. We don't want folks to say, well, they're going to take their bag, pack up their bags and go to whatever private school or whatever charter school down the street if we, and I do feel that we have a spirit of reasonably accommodating the diverse needs we have. So just putting that out there. Thank you. Moving, okay, so Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Please vote.
Madam Secretary, after the vote, may I have a point of personal privilege? Thank you.
The motion carries.
Thank you, and Board Member Gode with a
Yes,
point.
being it's related to this topic, is Ms. Dupuy still here? Yes. Would the board mind if Ms. Dupuy came up and told us about what our school district is doing to provide vaccinations in the school and to
Okay.
encourage people to get the vaccine because the more people we can get vaccine, the sooner we can get this pandemic behind us. And our school district has launched an effort in conjunction with our local health providers. And so, Ms. Dupuy, could you just give us a brief publicity stunt for what is going on in our schools? Thank you.
Absolutely. This week and next week, we'll be providing vaccines in conjunction, as Dr. Narcisse said, with the Mayor's Office, the Department of Health, and other health providers. Louisiana National Guard will be coming in and giving our students vaccines with their parental consent. That's this week and next week. On Saturday of next week, the district has partnered with the St. George Fire Protection District, and they will be providing community vaccines at Jefferson Terrace Academy and Woodlawn High from 10 to 1 p.m. The day after that, at Bon Carré, the mayor's office, again, will be working with us to provide vaccines to our students across the parish. Any student, any community member who would like to go will be providing vaccines there. And I can provide additional information for anyone who needs that, and we will be pushing that out. So I really appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Goday.
Thank you. And I also want to highlight that even though it's not official yet, I think it'll be very, very soon that the vaccine will be approved for children as young as 12. That probably in the next week or so. So I'm hoping that a lot of this by next school year will be behind us. I recognize it won't cover every situation, totally understand that, but I just wanted the public to understand what opportunities they had as supported by the East Baton Rouge Parish School System. Thank you.
No problem. And Board President
Yeah,
Taylor.
can I build on your point of personal privilege? I just wanted to make sure the St. George Fire Department is under the auspices of the State Fire Marshal, who came to us and was interested in using our facilities. And I just want to make sure everybody is properly plugged. But I mean, from state level to local level, everybody's very engaged in this. So I appreciate all the effort. Thank you, Michael. Thank you,
Board
Stacy.
Member Bernard.
Do we have promotional materials that we can share with people about these?
I will give that to you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving forward with, oh, I'm sorry.
And I also wanted to say that I think there was a press conference that was recently had at Baton Rouge High School with the mayor's office as well as our school system, and there were several students that were there. So my hat goes off to everybody. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Thank you, Mayor Broom's office, and everybody that had anything to do with that.
Thank you. And did Superintendent, you mention the number we've had in your report? I think you mentioned the number we already had vaccinated in our schools. Or somebody mentioned it.
We did mention it in the report. I don't have the full number in my head.
Okay.
Dr.
No worries.
Ms. Dupree, we can get that information.
All right.
I
If
have
it was
a
easy
lot of
access.
numbers in my head,
but
so.
yeah, no problem. No problem. Okay. So item D10, consolidation of schools. Consideration of a request for the approval of the consolidation of Claiborne Elementary and Howard Park Elementary students at Claiborne Elementary site for the 2021-22 school year. First by Board Member Howard, and then seconded by Board Member Lannis. And Board Member Lannis, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Madam Vice President. I just want to say how extremely excited I am that we are finally making this move. For far too long, students that attended Howard Park have been on the school's campus over at Claiborne. And when I walk through there, the principal says, that the teacher said, you can't even tell the students apart. They all love working with each other. They love being inside the classrooms together. So this is just a healthy collaboration that I'm just so proud of. And I just want to thank the board for that, so we can move forward and making sure that those students are together. But I also like the idea of merging those two attendance areas too, so they can get more students at school, because the school is absolutely beautiful, by the way. It was recently rebuilt a few years ago. So just wanted to say thank you all.
All right, and seeing no other board comment, any public comment? And back to the board. Seeing no other board comment, Madam Secretary.
Please vote.
The motion carries.
Okay, moving forward with item D11, board meeting calendar. All right, consideration of a request for the approval of East Baton Rouge Parish School Board meeting schedule for the 2021-22 school year. And I heard a first from Board Member Dyson and a second from Board Member Tatman, Board President Tatman. Board Member Dyson.
The only thing that I would like to see is just that in March of 2022, on the 17th, that we just add the purple. It's already fixed. Okay, okay. I just wanted to be consistent when we get it posted on the website. Thank you.
Seeing no other board comment, any public comment? Back to the board. Seeing no additional board comment. Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
Please vote.
Oh.
The motion carries.
Board Member Lannis, did you that was a delayed reaction, is over, it's a moot point? You got,
No, this is a point of personal privilege,
privilege?
I'm
No
sorry.
problem.
But I can do it after we do the announcement of the meetings.
because you know somebody gonna jump up and say, we ready for
You're
it
right,
to
you're
be
right. Look,
adjourned.
my house ready already. So I just want to use the point of personal privilege to say the day is finally here, this Saturday. The Glen Oaks High School ribbon cutting is here. That ribbon cutting ceremony is going to take place at 9 a.m. After that, we have the inaugural Run the Oak 5K running throughout the Glen Oaks community. It's going to be a day of celebration. There's going to be several people coming out to this event. And I heard we talked about COVID-19 vaccinations. There's going to be on-site vaccinations taking place. And by the way, it is the best vaccine available, which is Pfizer. I want to just thank everybody that has put time, energy, and sweat equity into making this thing happen. I know I am certainly happy that we have finally got to the place where we're going to cut the ribbon and let the community see everything that's going on. But I just wanted to invite everybody out and just wanted to thank this board. What I can honestly say is this: when it came time to vote on this and do what was right by that community, this board did not hesitate, and everybody voted for it. And I just greatly appreciate each and every single one of you. Thank you.
Thank you. It sounds like some amazing things happening over there at Glen Oaks. And, in the spirit of me doing morning Pilates now, I'm going to try to put on some running pants and join. I might not make it to the finish line. All right. 5K. 3.3 miles. And so, announcement of meetings. Glen Oaks High, well, you just said that. Regular board meeting to be held on May 20th, 2021 at 5 p.m. here at the Professional Development Center. A board retreat to be held on May 21st, 2021 at 9 a.m., location to be determined. And the next committee of the whole to be held June 3rd at 5 p.m. here at the Professional Development Center. And meeting adjourned.